peace is not on. Vaka suffer, people suffered, people died. Anatina Chitsunge died. Anamo Blessing Ali died. Anamboneni Ngube died. For people to do my home, so it's not on. It's not on. It's not on. Now we see three I think about three factions, or if not four. For what? If you are genuine comrades, why don't you find each other, work together for a great new Zimbabwe? But tunaona wachisa ma cryptic messages, tunaona wachituka, tunaona wachita matantrum pama public platforms. Vanhu vatiri kuexpecta kunge vari ma-leaders, vanhu vatiri kuexpecta kunge vari ma-torch bearers, vanhu vatiri kuexpecta kunge vari the light of the world. We are busy doing zvinhu zvisina basa, yet vanhu kwamutoko vari kufa nenzara, vanhu kuzumba maramba pfungwe, they are dying of hunger. Dai titori busy pamaspace kumobiliza chikafu munguva yedrought, but tiri busy panapa kutukana, kupotana, kuudzana zvisina basa. We need
host. I think the platform is taking a turn. I would like to. I would like to excuse myself, not out of disrespect, okay, but I think I give let me
I give back the mic. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let me. Sorry, Chair. I want to thank you for hosting us this evening. If anyone was offended in any way or manner in what we said, I apologize. But I think before we degenerate into an insulting platform, let me take my lead. Thanks, Chair.
Mama Fume, before you go, can I just say this? I really feel for Advocate Nelson Chamisa. He had sleepless nights. Vachifamba usiku nemaskati, 3 rallies a day. When some people were at home, vachinjoya sadza, vachinjoya luxuries, only to do this to him. He may be wrong. He may have done things that are not okay, but I think he deserves some respect. I don't know the ins and outs, but zvatinoona isusu public.
That's why I said, Chair, can you excuse me? I think the condescension and the downright content is getting up to certain levels that we might also not be able.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, just before
hold on, guys. Hold on. Mayor Mafume, I think we appreciate your time. The thing is, obviously, I think people have got a lot to express. People need to speak to you guys, but we appreciate you coming to speak to us. I wish you could have given us more time, but obviously, I think you don't want the direction that the conversation or some of the participants are going through. But what we'll do, if you can just remain on the space, because people will still, if they have got questions to ask, if they've got any inputs that they need to do, you can still listen to that. So I just want you to remain on the space if you can. But thank you for that. But anyway, we still have Agents Kumba, we still have Honorable Darlington Chigumbu. So these guys are still here, and I think they are still in the leadership structures. And I see we've got requests. Tererai Obey, I see you there. Who add you, Mkoma, Honorable Shaki, who add you, and so many other people. My sister Jela Babra, a lot of people, Mercy. So we add you guys. So what we'll do next is, since the mayor is left, I think the next question was going to Two Boy. Mof, please, if you can make a submission.
It's quite sad. Mayor, sometimes I'm quite direct, either people they're gonna like me in the family or outside the family. These guys, they did not just trick us, they abused us. Big time. And they can actually cheat, I think they enjoy. Even because maybe I think they were sitting down drinking whiskey. How can you move forward if you are surrounded? Even how are they going to gain our trust? What does that trust now? Never. Because some will even sacrifice status, Kulomara Zimbabwe, Udangosa X. I even sacrifice track yangu nipane pale watakapa track yangu ishandise makampeni. Track ikashanda makampeni akapinda. Alipo mpana watakabodoneshera mali pana baba. But for us to be treated like that, guys, we need respect and we will respect you too. Nana kuma yendi jajawa, I donate mali uko. Maybe that's right. But to be treated like we are just nobody. Can I just we're gonna wait for our turn. And we are waiting. Because actually one tell us hakuna nyinyi was said betrayal. Right now, brother, there's nothing that gonna come out of there's nothing. You're gonna still going round in the same pitch. My question to Mayor Mafumu as well, but I'm still gonna ask. If he's saying 2019 Congress is still valid, then I have to ask Madame Coupe, she had the own Congress, is it still valid too? Because she's now a member of the same PPC party. So Madame Coupe tomorrow she can even say maybe I'm recalling people because I had my own Congress, it still stands. I didn't take a dark one. Anyway, thank you, Mazimbabwe, but Chaka President go out to Miracle. Ishamisa Kangomila Gotaka with Jim and tomorrow maybe I will even support Zanu PF. Well, that is rubbish.
All right.
God respect you, God respect you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We hear your passion, Mof. Thanks for that. I hope Mayor is still on the space. I'm not so sure if Mayor is.
All
right, Dianata 10, can you quickly say something, then I'll go to the next.
Question it's not even important anymore. That now we've on Mayor or Hwende as a party and it are you not able to suspend their members of parliament? Saka teacher bangu here arbiters why have they not suspended him? That's the question I wanted to ask them. But anyway, when why to start I'm going to what was one paper I got David question kuna mayor kuti yadzike. Uye paro pasi abaro pasi kasona baro pasi atopa WhatsApp so arikutoseka zvamapenzi maita
Okay.
Can I respond to something?
Okay, I hope they are still listening on this space anyway. But thanks for that. I think Gift, you're having a problem with your network. I'll try and add you back so that you can speak before we lose you again. Let me try and do that now. While I'm doing that, I think
can I say something?
It was Honorable Darlington. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I would like to start by making clear that I wouldn't want to disrespect other colleagues. In as much as some of my contributions might, seem like they are, targeting other colleagues, but that's not the intention. I would want to labor on the issue of, on the question of whether CCC is a new party, was a new party, or was not a new party. There's a proverb which say, if a hyena wants to eat its young ones, it first accused them of, smelling like goats. We are having a problem here whereby there are people who have their own agenda, but they are not so sure about whether they will be successful or not. They do really understand and appreciate that President Nelson Chamisa is a brand. They want to ride on that brand. But the way they are doing it, the fact of the matter is that CCC was a new party. Why? Because zvakanga zvaitika ndezvekuti court yakanga yati formation yamanga maita ine Congress ya 2019 which is being referred to hazvisi pamutemo. So for the mayor to ask the minutes which nullified the 2019 Congress colleagues who now have another idea. It's their democratic right to have their own ideas. But for them to come today after an election to say we were not a new party, I think they are not being honest. If they are really honest to say the Triple C was not a new party, I think they should also themselves resign from the positions which they are holding today, because they are a result of this thing which they are now calling illegality. So to me, I think we are having a problem of people who want to implement their own ideas, but they are not so sure. They are not confident in their own ideas. They do really understand that NC, he is the face of opposition politics in Zimbabwe, and you cannot take that away from him. What we need is people in opposition is to be united. And like what Agents has always been reiterating on this platform, that we need to be truthful. We need to be truthful with each other to say, where is the problem? You cannot come here and tell us that you were against what Chamisa did, which saw us defeating ZANU-PF in terms of as far as 2/3 majority is concerned. But you agree with Chabang, who recalled the people who were legitimately elected into parliament. To me, it doesn't sit well with me. Panoratidza kuti pane zvinoitika or zviri kuitika behind the scenes. We have to agree, Tese, like what Agents has said, kuti what happened in a bid to resolve whatever misunderstandings dzakanga dziripo in terms of how we're going to formulate ourselves was not right. We are not supposed kuti tipise imba nekuda kuti toda kuuraya gonzo. That was wrong. You know, we had brilliant people in the form of Ana Pasho, in the form of Ana Madzimbamuto, in the form of Ana Mtasa. We had constituencies which dzatakatora for the first time, which we made history mukuwina in the 23rd election. And then all those things were destroyed. And now somebody comes and justifies. To me, hakuna chinogona kujustify whatever action yakatorwa nemunhu aifunga kuti maybe ane grievances ake. So let us not try to hide behind a finger here. Let these guys accept or be clear to say we have got our own ideas and we've got our own agenda which we want to implement. It's their constitutional right to do so. But I think that they should be fair and they should be truthful in the way that they're executing their whatever agendas that they have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you for that submission. Briefly, it gives you a perspective of where you're coming from. So I appreciate that. I think the next person was coming. So Gift or Salus, I think you've been dropping. Are you able to speak now?
Thank you very much. Can you confirm you can hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm here because someone very abusive brought me here from sabbatical because they say there's a conversation happening and I come here. I couldn't connect where the conversation is coming from. But I think that I picked some of the issues and I think that we are born out of the collective aspirations of the people. So I generally and personally would have felt that there should be more formal platforms of engagement. But nonetheless, I've said, I've just been instructed by the citizens to come here. Probably I think they felt that maybe there are some issues I might be able to raise to clear the air. I think that I picked some of the few points, and let me first start by saying something. I think that what citizens have to understand, and one thing that we got to understand when we joined the pro-democracy forces in this country is that you must understand the fundamental difference between ZANU-PF and the alternative in this country is that the alternative, unlike ZANU-PF, is born out of the real and genuine concerns of ordinary people. The people that you see being deployed in council, in parliament, in positions of leadership are people whose privilege come because there is a certain grievance that ordinary people feel that these people should address. Our struggle, which we are prosecuting, is born out of the concrete aspirations and grievances of the people. And I think that it is important that those who assume responsibility on behalf of ordinary people, particularly in the alternative, ought to understand that it requires people to handle it with the greater and utmost humility and honor, because it is not born out of personal CVs of people, but it is born out of the genuine and real grievances of people that are existential. Let me say, there is a question about people trying. Look, the pro-democracy movement has a history of almost two decades plus now. And the Triple C being part of that broader democratic contingent has just had a history in the lifespan of almost 2-3 years. And I don't think that if we rewrite the history of the Triple C, what more the history of the 2 decades plus of fighting in the trenches, and you get to understand why Zanu people rewrite history of what happened 40, 50 years ago. Because we can't rewrite history of something that happened 3 years ago. The matter and the facts are as followed. Number one, the Triple C and the MDC and the various factions and the conglomerate of the MDC are two distinct separate political entities at law and politically. As a matter of fact, there was a meeting that we set when we were still in the MDC. I was the Secretary General of the Youth at the time. We sat in a meeting, National Council meeting of the MDC Alliance, which I think most people want to continuously refer to as the platform that formed the Triple C. The matter of the fact was that the judgment by Patel and the others in the bench had made a determination on the fate of the MDC Alliance, that it is not a legal persona, it is not a political party, it cannot sue, it cannot be sued. Anyone who claimed to be in MDC Alliance must go back to the MDCT as was founded, as was constituted in 2019. So the judgment was very clear. And what that means is that the people that sat in that meeting, including President Chamisa, were sitting there in a meeting that was not legal. So that platform, I could have stood up and chaired that meeting because no one had a legal mandate to chair us in that particular meeting, because the meeting that was legitimate was the meeting that was chaired by Douglas Monzora, Coupe, and others, because the court had made a determination on the fate of the MDC Alliance. So that history automatically nullifies the existence of MDC Alliance as a political party. And it's a long judgment that people can read. So what that means is that everyone who was sitting there who did not want to belong to Monzora automatically, as Monzora did with those who were in parliament, that you guys, because you have not attended my meeting, you have automatically expelled yourself from the party, reading the MDCT constitution, that you have joined another gathering, right? And therefore you are no longer members of the MDCT. That's why all of us could not claim anything in that political party. And then Coupe took over, they went to their Congress, I think that they started fighting, and then the leaders of this world came in, and the Maos, I think somewhere, materially, and then it also got fractured, as it were. So what that meant is that we were partyless as a matter of fact and as a matter of law. All of us who were there were partyless and positionless. What then followed is that President Chamisa then, after traveling across the country, I say this because I happen to have been part and parcel of that national tour across the entire country. Zanu PF, and the stacks, it was all over the internet. We started in Masvingo and then went to Manicaland and so forth. And the emphatic message that came to President Chamisa to people, I think that there were two things. One, you go and form a political party, not Amos Chiba, not Ostalos, not another person. You, Nelson, go and form a political party. That is the mandate that the people gave to President Chamisa in the conversations that were happening in the countryside. Secondly, they said we have to get rid of this position of the Secretary General because it has been a center of problems in the alternative. I think those were the two fundamental messages that came across universal. There were so many other messages. This is how we think you should rebrand, and all those other issues. How you should brand, not rebrand. So, and then after that, President Chamisa then announced that I, Nelson Chamisa, have formed a political party. Not we. We were there, and many other people. I'm sure you saw the press conference. It was in Bronte. And by the way, that press conference, many people bulldozed their way into that podium because President Chamisa was supposed to go there and announce the new party and the pathway. And the journalists asked, at least so that we go to the facts, the journalists asked to the president, you have formed a party, who is your vice president? And he answered emphatically clear that, look, I don't have a vice president. And they asked, I think, I can't remember the other position that the people asked. So he answered unequivocally that question about, whether he has got the leadership of the MDC Alliance into Triple C. But it is only natural that everyone, I was part of the leadership collective of the MDC Alliance, and the only thing I hoped for was that it would have been clear, it would have been better to have that transition. But we were told by lawyers that you guys cannot rebrand because we were in a meeting that we held before the formation of Triple C. We were for the rebranding of the MDC Alliance, which had been taken over, to either have it to be another MDC something, because we felt that we cannot lose MDC in our name. That is how some of us felt. But the lawyers whom we are seeing today were the ones who said you cannot rebrand what you don't have. You can't go buy paint and say, I want to paint this house blue when it's yellow, but the house doesn't exist. So you only paint what is there. So they made it clear to us, political scientists and non-thinkers, that you guys can rebrand something that you don't have. So what they meant is that you don't have a political party, form one, then brand it, which is why we formed Triple C. And I think that there's an alphabet of evidence that speaks to why we said Triple C is new, and we branded it from zero, people contributing the colors, the logos, with so much debates about everything, the websites. I think that Kuda spoke about some his conversation with me. Yeah, I had a conversation with Kuda, and all these things. It was about branding because I was in the communications department. The question was, how do we brand? And in fact, let me also say this because President Chamisa had a meeting with all of us who were in the rank and file of the previous organization to be in this understanding on one-on-one basis in his office. But that's a discussion for another day. So that is the first fact. No one can rewrite the history that the MDC, the Triple C is the MDC alliance. Secondly, Chabangu, and I've said this and I'll continue to say it. Chabangu was part and parcel of the MDC alliance leaders in Matabeleland North. He was never Chabangu in Triple C. His only claim to Triple C is a picture in Papa Fields. That rally was in my constituents. We had hosted more than 30,000 people in that constituency in White City, sorry. He had a picture we took there. And I mean, everyone in this space followed the Triple C. No one can claim. If it was Charlton Hwende coming and saying, I'm the Secretary General, you would say, look, his argument can hold water. That charlatan was never in the formative stages of the Triple C, never participated in the process of the Triple C, but was invited into politics by the former, I think it's a former commissioner of ZEC in Matabeleland South in Bulawayo. He's the guy who invited that guy. Chabangu, and he knows it, and all these other chaps know that Chabangu was created by Kubani. He became a vehicle and a tool by Kubani to go and sponsor double candidates. That is the entry of Chabangu into the political market of this country. Kubani facilitated through his networks in ZEC, because he was serving in ZEC, presented this idea to the rank and file of Zanu PF. He then went to present the themselves. But Chabangu is a product of Kubani, who then sponsored double candidate. We went to court as Triple C to say, look, this guy, because ZEC accepted his forms, whereas in tradition, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission would not accept anyone who comes and register a name of a political party when they've already received the same name, right? That is why we started to question ZEC's professionalism, because that has been the tradition and what the law says. If I've registered a party and say Triple K, you come and say mine is Triple K, Kuda, and so forth, they will tell you, no, you can't, because there's already a political party with the same name or like symbol. That's why up to this very day, you can't go to ZEC and register a party called ZANU PF. Even if you call it ZANU PF J or ZANU PF S, they will refuse for you to register that party. Their reason is that their law tells you that if a party is registered and with same symbol and the same acronym, you cannot allow another party. But in this case, they brought the Animal Farm Kingdom, a law for ZANU-PF and the law for the rest of us. They accepted Chabangu's nomination. Chabangu knew, because Kubani had made it very clear to him that this is also going to be very instrumental. He started meeting other colleagues in Machiavelli and telling them that, no, I'm the Secretary General and I'm going to be recalling people. The person that was very clear that is going to recall was David Coltart. That don't worry about this white man, I'm going to recall him because I'm the Secretary General, right? Everyone was not entertaining his idea, because they knew that it cannot pass any legal test at law in our country. But they proceeded after the law, after the election. What then happened is that what triggered the activities of Chabang as coordinated. Now the Central Intelligence was coming in and so forth. What coordinated that activity post-election of Sengezo Chabangu was because we made a decision that because we have a contested election, we're not going to attend parliamentary session. That humiliated the regime and their troglodytes. The frustration escalated the conflict between ourselves and ZANU-PF, leading to the invoking of that issue, because clearly any dictatorship world over, its objective is very simple. You capture the opposition, you destroy it and control it. That's the rule. It's not a Zimbabwean rule. It's a fascist rule world over. Go and study a different. They have to have an opposition that they control. So in this case, Chabangu becomes the willing tool. He's taken and then he drafts his letter. We have a meeting of the Triple C, which is the highest decision-making body of the Triple C, which was the Citizen National Assembly. And the Triple C, by the way, had governing statutes. We had so many documents that were adopted by the organization. And it is our historic to try and rewrite that history. We knew all these candidates, whether it's Charlton Hwende or it's Jacob Mafume, it's Agents Gumbo, it's Darlington Gumbo, all of them, their names were ratified by the Citizen National Assembly for them to be confirmed as candidates of the Triple C. It is not Nelson Chamisa. It is not any other person. It is the Citizen National Assembly, which was chaired by Mahia at other people, Commissioner Praise and others, who were the ones who then announced the names of the final candidates before the Citizen National Assembly. That list was debated by the organ, leading to President Chamisa to then to be charged to ensure that the signatories, which by the way were not President Advocate Nelson Chamisa, the signatories being Honorable Stabile Mlilo and the Senator, I forget his name, but it's from Matebeleland, one of our elders from Matebeleland, South. They were the ones who were the signatories of the organization. They proceeded to sign the names that were ratified by the Citizen National Assembly. And that is how all of us became candidates, not at the mercy of the principal, not at the mercy of Advocate Nelson Chamisa as our president, but at the mercy of the highest decision-making board of the party, which was the Citizen National Assembly. And then let me go again to then what happened after the election. Then ZANU-PF gets frustrated. All this assault on the party begins, right? Chabang writes a letter. We write a counter letter to the Speaker of Parliament, President Chamisa, affirming that, look, I'm the one when Triple C was formed. I wrote to you and you accepted the list of my deployees. Honorable Hwende, Honorable Mtseame, Honorable Machuma, so many of them in 2018 were recalled and became the inaugural members of the Triple C in Parliament, where had their deployments being affirmed, Honorable Caston Mateu and others. Their leadership in Parliament was affirmed by President Chamisa through the correspondence that he wrote to the Speaker. In the equal measure, he wrote and confirmed that Honorable Amos Chibaya is the leader of the House, Clifford Chachwa is the chief whip, and that was respected by Parliament. Shockingly, Chabangu brings his bogus letter. In fact, the letter could not even spell ceased. On that basis, Mudendo was supposed to act on that letter, on that fundamental grammatical error. He could not spell the word cease. That charlatan could not spell it. It was a clumsy thing written under a tree. So they realized a mistake, they started correcting it. They realized that the Speaker has acted on the letter, tried to correct it, and Honorable Hwende says something fundamental about the proposed engagements. Parliamentarians sat together and said, look, what are the possible interventions, despite that the legal process that were done? What are the interventions? That's why the people like Archie and Sukumo come into play. It was a decision that we made as a parliamentary caucus to try and resolve some of the issues proposed and so forth. And you know that things were basically moving so fast. So what most of these then people then did, so that at least I put the data at Mora, it became clear that Chabangu now had taken control of Ruko power in Parliament. The Citizen National Assembly again said, now sharply divided. Some were pro the issue of resigning in Parliament because with our MPs, Tobago and others, being recalled, the proposal was that let's resign in mass. Some were saying, no, let's not resign, eventually leading to us to take a decision to disengage from Parliament. I then communicated that through a press conference that we're disengaging, I think should have been 21 days or 21 sitting. My memories, it's a bit short to remember, but we made a resolution now to say, okay, let's meet halfway, because remember that the people were making decision in that decision making, but we're also interested parties, because they were members of Parliament and councillors. We then agreed that let's disengage from Parliament, and disengagement was announced, and processes moved on and so forth, and then people started to be recalled, and things went as they were. But obviously, what then happened is that, remember that there were other issues that were happening, particularly in the city of Harare. Ian Makone had been confirmed as the mayor, and it was also part of the centers of grievances. And then eventually people started contacting Chabangu, sending lists, because I mean, Chabangu doesn't know, he has never met Kufa. He recalled Kufa in Mavuku, because quoted then also, because Chabangu was now up for grabs. The guy was poor. The guy was selling airtime in Ekotini in Bulawayo. So this is the chap who was writing letters, but he himself didn't have even 20 US in his pocket every time. So he became up for grabs. And then people started calling me, realizing that he's got power. They take him to one hotel. Some of our colleagues hired him to move from Blawayo to go to a hotel here in Harare, gave him the list of names, and started recalling people, right? And others in other provinces, because it is only natural that if you go to an election, there are people who lose, there are people who win. So those who lose automatically will start saying, "Oh, here in Mashwana Central, these are the people that you must recall." And then later started to kick in. And then Zanu-PF facilitated the fraud, and many people went to parliament through the fraudulent process, right? And then Chabangu came into fame, started getting protection from the state, and then from him being protected by the state, up until to the level extent that he then became a senator and all the things that we're doing. Other people, obviously, because these people, what citizens ought to understand, they don't have a collective agenda. What they have is a collective grievance. Some of them hate President Chamisa. Some of them hate whosoever. It's a collective grievance. It's not a collective objective. That's why you see now Sengezo Chabangu appears there, writes a letter, confirms that he's put himself as the leader of the opposition and so forth without agreement with others. It's just a whole basket of confusion and politics of self-preservation. But I mean, what I'll conclude by saying is that, look, it is not possible to have the following. One, you cannot have your cake and eat it. You can't have both sides of the cake. You ought to make a decision, look, for self-preservation, because, look, if you look at Prof. Welsh, I've great respect for the professor, but his career politically is on the twilight stages. It is only natural that we make a decision that is on self-preservation mode. And many people do it. Those who in parliament who think that they might not be able to go back, they will take those decisions. Some of them have so much hatred for the person of the principal to the level extent that at the slightest provocation, they'll say, "Let's throw away the baby with the towel." Let me go to President Chamisa's resignation. The letter was very clear on why President Chamisa resigned from Triple C. The political parties exist on the basis of two sources of power, de facto and de jure. Those are the existing sources of a political party. It's either you've got effective political control of the organization or you have got legal control of the organization. The legal control of the organization was taken over when President Chamisa's correspondence could not hold water in parliament, in courts, and everywhere. The courts had made it criminally clear that they don't recognize President Chamisa. Mutenda had made it very clear by not respecting the correspondence for President Chamisa and respecting the correspondence from Chabao. So President Chamisa had lost as a leader effectively the legal control of the party. Secondly, when the political dynamics of the organization took a part, that was clearly that people were now taking their part of self-preservation and their own peculiar interest. It is clear that they also lost effective control of the organization. So it is only a narrow for anyone to assume that you ought to remain you effectively, legally, and politically don't belong to. So it's actually formalizing the realization and the reality that the party Triple C had been hijacked by Zanu-PF and others then becoming willing tools, because the decisions of what happens in Triple C were not made by these individuals. They were just beneficiaries of the decision made, but the decisions were made by the regime. Chabang himself never made a decision. It was made by the regime that we want that one out. We want that one. I never had an opportunity to speak in parliament. The first day, they made me to sit down. The second day, they chucked me out of parliament. The third day, they read the letter of my recall. So the regime had made it very clear, because remember, why the regime did all this, beyond all the, because everyone have their own version. But what was clear is that the Triple C parliament, Zanu had the quantitative majority in parliament. It had many numbers than us, but we had the qualitative majority. So it was not possible for those gerontocrats in ZANU-PF to control that parliament. It was not possible. The first sessions where we were all complete tell the story. ZANU-PF attempted to sing in parliament. We took over and Mudenda was in 6s and 7s because he could not stop us because it was ZANU-PF who had started the noise. So we had the qualitative majority to the level and extent that we're going to shape the direction and discourse of parliament, even if we didn't have quantitative majority. Because ZANU had most of the people, if you look at this ZANU-PF MP, the Cremora guy, I think he's an MP in Mashonaland West. The Cremora was very popular to say Mugabe, Cremora, Webster Sham. Webster Sham, in every parliament session, you'll be holding a flask of tea. You'll be drinking tea almost in every 2 hours. So you can expect that person to make any debate. He's going out there to refill his 2-liter flask of coffee, come back to parliament. I mean, it's a carefree, indifferent, and a clueless lot. While it's on our side, we had very critical mass of the political leaders in this country. So it was the only way to stop that was to obviously remove people from parliament and dismember and disorganize that parliament. And remember that Zan also didn't have 2/3
Honorable
in that
Gift,
parliament.
Honorable Gift, can you just hold on for a second, guys? I'm seeing messages that are saying that there's something wrong, with the space.
It was saying I was having connection issues, so I was texting in the background. Are you okay with your network? Are you set?
No, I'm okay, with the network.
Okay, that's fine. That should be fine then.
And let me see. I see that there was a drop in numbers to 1.3, but now they are back to 1.5. So I think everything should be fine.
Okay, that's fine. As long as you're there, I think we can see you now, so that should be fine.
Oh, so you weren't seeing me?
No, I could see you, but there was a message to say connection with the host. So
yeah, okay. Apologies, Honorable. Apologies. You can take the mic.
No, thank you very much. So I was just saying that these are the material realities of what transpired, and I don't think that we can mislead, particularly the people that have followed our movement. That it must be understandable that, and I've said this. What became dominant in the alternative again is that people developed a creeping sense of entitlement and the culture of impunity. And it happens naturally because you have been that's why you see this continuous reference of 99. We were there. I'd conflicts with Morgan Committee on that issue that look, leaders come and go. We ourselves will not be in the political arena forever. We will serve and live because politics is not a career platform. We are just there as conveyor belts of the aspirations of our people for a particular period, right? We move that struggle to a certain level and live. We should make it easier for the next generation by saying to them, look, comrades, we have served, we have fought. We might not have gotten there because it's not a one-day struggle, it's a protected struggle. We've been there to make it easy for you. You are the young ones, have more energy, more clarity, come and lead. We are not supposed to make it difficult for those who come after us by sticking there, by continuously referring to Dr. Moki and Richard Tswangrai and others, because that is part of our struggle. But being participant in the historical experiences of the pro-democracy movement should not make us generate a culture of impunity that I can do things wrongly and I must not be questioned. Or, more importantly, must have a sense of entitlement and say, Oliver cannot be an MP because he was not there, right? The Triple C provided a new platform. That's why everyone was able to reimagine the future on the basis of a contribution, on the basis of expertise and your commitment to see change in our country. That is what at least some of us believed in and still believe in today. We don't take public responsibility with so much grandeur and with so much hubris. We ought to understand at the deepest hearts of hearts that we are where we are to be called leaders in society because we represent the genuine aspirations of the people. We are not doing it because we are the most competent, but we are just conveyor belts of the real grievances of our people. And whenever differences can emerge, we ought to deal with them with that understanding that, look, at the end of the day, this is a people struggle. I must not undermine it because maybe I feel offended, because naturally we are different people. I go to FM, some go to SDA. We just differ on the day to worship, but we find common ground, because what unites us is not that I'm from SDA, the fact that we want change in our country, right? And it's very unfortunate, because what this revolutionary whirlwind will do, it will, and it is only natural in a struggle. That's why some of us don't panic. We understand. Remember, if you read the liberation struggle, as I conclude, there were people like Albert Nyati, right? People betray. It is in human nature. People look for convenience. People get tired in a struggle. People look for easier routes. People look for what is comfortable for them. It is only natural, and you ought to understand them. The difference is that when you get tired, the easier thing is to say, let me just go under the tree and rest. If I've rested, then I can come back and join the struggle, than for me to undermine the very struggle, because most of these things are done emotionally. People insult, people do self-preservation decisions, and then eventually they come to their senses when this 5-year term and 5-year cycle is over, right? And they will start to be singing the loudest, the pro-democracy song and so forth. So, but you ought to understand it's also generational. It is all complexities of all these issues that were dominating the alternative. But I would not want anyone to revise the material facts about the legal status of the Triple C and the standing of the Triple C and the MDC various factions, as it were, right? And it is, let me also, sorry to conclude on this matter. I saw a statement that people say no standing committee met and appointed Welshman Ngobe. If you look at the composition of that standing committee itself, you would know that this is not even the standing committee of 29. Despite that, even if it is not the standing committee as was constituted in 2019, right? And secondly, you cannot say I'm addressing lack of democratic tendencies by being undemocratic yourself. I mean, all these decisions that are being made without considering or consulting the, because the MDC, if you are going back to the MDC alliance, then you've got structures and systems of the MDC alliance. You will not get record of those structures meeting and making decisions of that nation of significance, right? But they will continue reference because it's a scapegoat, right? They'll just say we belong there because you just want to have a platform where you just say, no, we are back there and so forth to settle some political scores. But it is ahistoric. It is not factual. And for me, I don't think that is criminal to differ. People can differ and say, look, we're walking separate ways, right? I can assure you that as we go into the future, no one is going to have both sides of the cake. That's one. Number two, no one is going to have their cake and eat it. Three, no one is going to revise these present historical experiences that we are seeing. It is not going to be possible, right? People ought to understand and make their minds simple. Accept Isengezo Chabangu, that this is our leader, work with him, get the benefits that, because I mean, at the end of the day, right, you make a personal choice to say, I have to get the benefits. There are people who are principled in that parliament, right? And those people are known, and that history cannot be rewritten to say this one was principled. There are people right now. If we were still in Triple C at the time and made a decision to resign, there are people whom we know that these ones would have taken a decision to resign. It is that clear. That history can be rewritten because we are comrades. We know each other. That this one we come this far. He has taken this decision because of 1, 2, 3, right? And I think that is clear. If you have taken that decision, live with it, right? This is not going to be possible. We said this in 2019 when people saluted Douglas Manzora and say, Manzora, the people were beside the edge swords. They are known. That history. I mean, it's not me who's going to make any decision because I'm just but a mere citizen. But if you go to any constituency and ask them in Makwekwe, that you citizens in Makwekwe, who is your genuine representative? They will tell you that we know where it could go. No, it doesn't matter whether that other charlatan who came by the back door comes and try to say, no, but I was representing the people, because they will try to masquerade as we get into the shadows of 2028, right? But citizens are clear. Go to any constituency, they will tell you, you don't need anything. You go to the constituency and ask them, who is your councillor here? Who is your MP here? They will tell you. So that history is very clear. And I thought that is important to just clarify, since I was just invited to speak on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Mayor Mafume, he wants to respond. Titus, can you see him?
Yeah, I can see him. I've been adding him, but he keeps dropping. I think he's on now. I think it's on.
Okay. Mayor, you can take the mic.
Right. I think he's dropped again. So, Mayor, I think get out of this space and come back again. We'll try and add you back.
Please, can you get out of the space completely and then come back again?
Yes.
Because,
I think that will help.
I don't know what is going on.
Let me see. Is there on the request? Add speaker. He's loading. Yeah, I think it keeps kicking you out, Mayor. So please try to get out of the space completely. Come back, then we should be able to add you back. So in the meantime, while we wait for that, I think Tadini, please go ahead with the question.
Yeah, it's now a bit difficult because the people who were supposed to answer the questions are missing. But we'll still put them to the floor, and hopefully they will entertain the questions. But I think what is clear is I understand my brother Kuda was calling for these folks to have conversations behind closed doors, putting a veil of secrecy around power, statesmanship, and leadership. I think it is clear we do not need that veil of secrecy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're in.
Yeah, Mayor. Yeah, there now. Just hold on. Tadini speaking, then we come after him. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I totally disagree with that position that Nkoma Kuda holds. And the reasons have demonstrated themselves here. The folks are not that good at coming up with things that are for the nation. Maybe for things. Maybe I should speak after him because he will keep on interjecting. Yeah. Okay. Let me speak after him. He will keep on interjecting. I think he's having a challenge.
Right.
And he's one of the people that should answer the question, so it would even be better to have him.
All right.
Okay.
I don't know what. Okay. Right. Mayor, can you take the mic, please? Okay.
Go ahead, Mayor.
You see, I think I'll try to be as dispassionate.
Right. You're definitely having some network challenges there, Mayor. Please try to get out of the space again and come back, because I think your network here, we can't hear you at the moment. Yeah. Okay. While Mayor Mafume is doing that, Tadini, can you go ahead, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, like I was saying, disagree in a position, we agree on a lot of things, but we do not want this secrecy and veil on power, hiding it and making it as if it's something that's very complex. Yet it's not. And it's clear from how the leaders were engaging that there are definitely things that they are missing, and the citizens have to be included. Citizens there not being members of the city of the CCC, but being Zimbabweans. Who are at the end of the day the governed, right? Then the one question.
Sorry, where should the citizens be involved in these leadership conversations? Should they be involved from the onset, or there's a point when these guys have to speak on their own, then they involve citizens, or the citizens should be involved from the word go?
The word go and throughout the process. We do not want leaders that are shy from engaging with the people that they are going to be leading. And again, it has demonstrated itself here. We have leaders that easily quit whenever the pot gets hot. I think you saw some leaders wanted to back off because someone is trying to agitate them. and throw them off balance, which is what we do here every day. We've engaged for over 3 years now, and you will notice that someone will come up and try and throw you off balance. You never give up. You maintain your position. So there is that leg, and I think it is because our leaders have been given too much privilege. Those that have been leaders for the past 20 years, 40 years, have been given the privilege to always talk down to us and not to talk to us. And the culture has continued even today. You see, the citizens are supposed to be engaging with them, but they are the ones giving sermons, very, very long sermons. And whenever we now come to question them on their sermons, they then try to run away. I know Gudinko Gerard is very good at that. And in time, he will remember that this is a platform for citizens. It is not a platform for those elected to come and give us sermons. They can do that in the platforms that they already have and that they already control. Let us not do that here again, where the citizen wants to be heard and the citizens want to communicate with those that are supposedly guiding the vision, supposedly the anointed ones. But I put that one aside. And I come back and say, one really critical that has been coming from the side in AMEA, Geye Kuti, the Bereka Mwana was very undemocratic. And I find that as being disingenuous and very condescending. The reason why is these people went through the processes. Even Nkomangu in the Total side, he went through the processes. And throughout the first time it was proposed, I think I maintained the position. Even Pano Nkomangu, this is a barbaric thing that guys are doing. And we used to joke during the election period between me and Nkoma Smarters to try to back and forth. Always I present why I'm saying what they're doing is barbaric and is anti-democratic, and they should never have engaged in it if they're a democratic alternative. I was clear about that, regardless of the veto that came from it. Where were these leaders then if they held the same position that I did, that what they were doing was undemocratic? They went along with it because it was beneficial to them. So I think the question there is they have to explain why they went along with something that now they can clearly criticize and say, did they go along with it then because it benefited them? The same way that they're going along with what the status quo they want to maintain now because it is benefiting them. I hope they'll be able to engage with it. There's a lot of things that they did that was undemocratic in a supposedly democratic movement. Why are they distancing themselves from it now when they could have set it right at inception? So they should answer that one.
Thank
then
you.
The last one. The last one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, then the last one is an issue to do with the continuation in parliament. And I think the argument that has been presented by the members of parliament that are still sitting, the sitting honorables, not the honorables that were chased out or that walked away, is that they want to defend the democratic space. But we are not idiots. Some of us are, at least my lawyer, so we go straight to the point and we prefer the data. The data is clear. The democratic space has been shrinking ever since you're occupying that those seats. It has not expanded. So how are you defending the democratic space? How can you then come up before 2,000 people and argue we are defending the democratic space? Yet the data is clear that what has happened is a shrinking of that democratic space. Right, and I think it is also very disingenuous when we do not put the full conversation into context. To then do as the follow through, because we don't want this idea where we pack people and you become saviors. This is what you have done. Always hold the vision to be at your chest, and then you make people dependent upon what you will call for next. We need to liberate the people so that they are truly involved. And it doesn't matter if one of you doesn't make it today and they wake up dead or they wake up uninterested. The people can still pursue their own freedoms. This is the problem that we have. And it has continued even in this conversation where we have to be dependent on these leaders, even the ones that have stepped out. What is the vision and how are the people involved in the vision? Lastly, there was an argument to say that no, we will hold these seats also because we want to defend the feeding of others. Tikabuda mu parliament vanhu vekuwadzana vatoita nzara. But muri kuda kufidha kuwadzana muchinyudza vamwe vese here? How can we argue that this little corruption that feeds a few is okay, yet it puts the rest of Zimbabweans at risk? Gerard, we've been waiting for a very long time. I know, and the other folks have also been waiting for a long time. I want to respect them, something that the leaders here failed to do with their sermons, and to say the time is coming. Hey guys, privilege. The sun will set and the dawn will rise on other leaders. What is clear is there is a vacuum, and you haven't been able to carry through the vision. Thank you very much for coming, Gerard. No dropper. That's why I'm sitting 78 my request.
Right. You know, what I wanted to say is Mayor Mafume is having troubles with connecting. So Mayor, can I ask you to completely leave the space? Just come off the space, leave the space, and then rejoin. Paneta improvement area. So can you please come off the space completely, and then we'll see if we can be in a position to add you, because you seem to be coming in and dropping. I don't know what is going on. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you certainly wanted to respond. So we wanted to hear what he has to say. But yeah, I think it's tight. I think he needs to leave this space.
Yeah, I think he needs to leave the space. Let's just keep that one space open, so that if he does come back, we'll see if we can
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
okay. Ngoma Judge, you had a question? Henry?
Yes, I have a question. I hope my question was going to the mayor. I hope when he comes, he will be able to respond.
Yeah.
The first question was, at what point did he came to know that the name of the party is Citizens Coalition for Change, and that the logo is the logo that was used and the color was yellow? At what point in his did he came to know that? The second one is, they are talking of a national council of the MDT Alliance. Why is it that since the 22nd of January 2022, that national council has never met or set? And until now, even after Advocate Chamisa has left, they are still talking of a standing committee, which is not properly constituted. But why is it that they have not met as a national council? If the National Council had decided to rebrand the party, like they're saying, when then did the National Council sit again to say we are suspending our meetings and we're going to meet as the Citizens National Assembly? So if that is the case, that they completely abandoned the meetings of their National Council, can't we then say that they are constitutional delinquents if they can follow their own constitution for a whole 2 years without following their constitution properly? That was my question, and it was going to the mayor.
Right. Okay. Tony, you said you're about to shoot. So just grab the mic and make your last contribution before you go. I'm trying to right. Mayor Mafume, I'm trying to get you to come via WhatsApp. Let's see if this works. No. So can you respond to to the WhatsApp message so that I can bring you via WhatsApp? Then it's so in the meantime, Tonio, if you can, Tonio, take the mic.
All right. Thank you so much, Uncle, for the time. I think it's been a long one now. It's almost midnight. I'm sorry I have a quick one. Hopefully we'll catch up on the next one. But a very interesting space, and I'm very happy. My brother Gift Ostalos is here. These are people that I deal with and I talk to each and every single day. And I love the healthy conversation that we've had from all the people across the political divide. Um, but I've honestly been listening to the submissions. Some of them to me are very old submissions, and some of them are rather tired. I think I've done interviews with almost all these guys who have been speaking and have been making their submissions here. Um, I can't agree further from what my brother Kuda also submitted. In all honesty and honesty, it would have been much more better to have such a very mature conversation going on somewhere, which is probably maybe not on this most public space, in the interest of honesty and genuineness within these various political animals. I struggle for clarity under such spaces, especially because maybe of the nature of my job. And usually I deliberately want to drop it for the sake of honesty. I think allow me to just speak as an observer, or rather as a political scientist, as far as these developments have been going on, rather than me as a journalist, because I know I had a long conversation with the mayor. I had a public interview with him about these issues. I had one other with Hwende. I had many others even with these various political animals. But I think people are just being unnecessarily very playful, and we can do this for the next 2, 3, 4 years, and we are just being disingenuous and we're just being dishonest, because these are not the real issues. Uh, People will need to just sit down and be frank if they're serious about moving on. I know and I believe what Kodao said is true, and was coming from the heart when he said these people, uh, it's very easy to label them treacherous and sellouts and all that, especially because of the current position. But we've been in this for a very long time. I think since the days of Morgan and Richard Changirai, the way I've been analyzing and seeing the political discourse in Zium, it's very easy for anyone to be labeled a sellout, treacherous, and all these things, without many people fully understanding exactly how people are going from A to B to C. You see, and some of these people, when they make a comeback, it becomes very difficult for them to be reaccepted, because already a certain label has been done and has been put upon them, especially because of the history of how people have been doing this. I love to see, and I've always been seeing, a very united force in the family. They've done this too many times. The first time when the BTs and the Nuves separated, they came back together with a strong political party, opposition movement that came through, and then it did single voice. Then it's happening once more again. We are seeing this book dividing and coming out. But without understanding the root cause of the problems, I think we're just being playful and we're being dishonest. First and foremost, um, I will not go back to the historical issues of these guys splitting, coming back and splitting, because they've been doing this place for a very long time. It started way back during the Watchmen time. They've also done splits against Morgan Changirai, where the same splits, MDC Green, MDCN, the BT, the PTP, and all these things. They've been happening for a very long time. When people enter and go into politics, these are political animals with permanent political interests, and they've got their own wishes, desires, and more importantly, they've got their own fears. What I've personally noticed within the past trajectory, as far as these players are being concerned, is there's been a lot of maybe disgruntlement and fear of being dropped and dumped at the last moment. This has been the biggest problem, whereby certain people and players would say, well, I fear that I've been having a certain political role for a very long time. If I'm not going to be considered in this way, I think maybe I can call plan B or plan C, because these guys, maybe naturally they're political animals who want to be continuously relevant for whatever reason best unto themselves. Maybe they've done certain service and they still want to be relevant, and they would want to hang on for as long as they want to hang on. That's number one. Number two, politics is a game of trust and loyalty. So you cannot be in politics as long as there's no trust and loyalty within you, yourself, your leaders, and more importantly, the people that you're supposed to be leading. this has been the biggest problem, where a lot of these political players have honestly felt the test of loyalty amongst themselves, amongst their leadership, and also within the rank and files. They have not done that. I think for Nelson Chamisa, he has genuine issues where he also said that, because of A, B, and C, you would have trust issues with certain candidates without me trying to add more fire or fuel to what is already going on. But this has been the biggest problem, where we need to admit that trust and loyalty was lost within the cadres. So there wasn't that much of trust and loyalty. And when someone then wants to move on within the next dispensation and says, this I'm going to be moving on as the next political animal, how best do I do this? Do I keep on going with people that have got personal doubts, or I move on with a fresh new team? Whether or not it's going to be interpreted as selling out or dumping out, that it becomes a different game altogether. But now, when such a move is done, there's always a reaction to a provocation, because you've got people who then now want to settle and put themselves in certain positions. For me now, I think that's when it comes in issues of political players having internal conflicts, and you've got your enemy who's watching and he takes advantage of exactly the same differences. So what they then do within their personal differences is much more important to the cause of their existence more than anything else. Because the moment you then realign and align yourself to the whims and the desires of your enemy or your competition, then you cannot be in the same race of trying to serve the same people. That becomes very critical and key to say, okay, fair and fine, people may have had their own internal differences. How best did you guys solve them when you realize that your differences? So some will go left, some will go right. But I think more importantly, none of these players should then go and eat on the same table with your perceived enemy. And then you still continuously say that you're serving the democratic purpose of your coexistence. That becomes a very big problem. So how did we get to where we are? Forget all these things. I think we're just being playful. The Constitution, the Triple C, moving from MDCN to MDC, whatever. We can talk about this for 4 or 5 years. I've had these conversations, I've had lots of interviews, and the honest conclusion is these guys just need to sit down in a closed room and say, but you know what, these are just nothing but alibis. They can lie all they want to say. Well, anyone can find a legal or a constitutional gap that you can manipulate to advance your needs, but that's not the real issue. The real issue is what is causing you to be where you are. I strongly believe this is political, personal, and self-preservation that is going on, whereby various political players will say, but because of where we are right now, I think, guys, if we don't do this, we are done and we are dusted. So for us to remain relevant, I think they have to do this and that. So you're seeing people who are now reacting in a certain particular way because they've been left out in a certain political fray. And then you're also seeing another group of people who are behaving in a certain way because they've moved on a certain direction. But ultimately, the for a very long time. I've done exclusive and very long interviews with all these various players, and I've just made the conclusion that says, guys, let's stop lying that it's because of a certain loophole A, B, and C. It's not because of that. It's because of simple issues of self-preservation and moving on. So people now need to just honestly, critically decide to say, if we're going to be moving on, how best we then move on, and then we do this together as one. Now there's a new factor. Okay, let me just quickly. I think you want to come in.
Yes, because I've got Mayor Mafumi on the phone here.
Okay, no, that's fine. Do you want me to proceed, or you want me to hang on for now?
Yeah, if you can, and then I'll just get him to respond, and then I'll ask you to continue if it is okay with you.
No, that's fine, because I wanted to do a quick one and then I'll end, but it's all right. I'll pause on for now.
If you were about to land, you can continue, and then I think you can hang on for 2 more minutes.
Okay, no, that's fine. Let me just try and push this up as fast as I can. Then there comes a very big problem whereby you are having your own serious and genuine internal problems that should have said, okay, guys, these are the real issues that we're having here. Let's stop pointing at somebody that says, you know what, I think you look like a goat at the time, you look like an elephant, you look like a sheep. All those are just funny excuses. The real issues, we already know them. These guys, they need to move on to a certain dispensation. And some people had to be left, or they had to be co-opted in a certain way. But because some certain people had to be left, and they should have been left at a certain point in time, I don't think there was an honest engagement that says, listen here, Mr. X, Y, and Z, because of the new dispensation that you're going to be going through, I don't think it's very good for the party to play number 9. I think
we've lost you.
Go pick and play number 2. Or in the
Antonio, you're breaking. Yeah, we can't hear you. Oh dear. No, Antonio.
Yeah. Okay, I'll mute you. I'll mute you because we can't hear.
Hear you loud and clear.
No. Right. Mayor Mafume, can you please quickly take the mic and respond? He said he wanted to respond to what Ostalos was saying.
Yeah, well, the irony that we find ourselves in, the first things that we have to check and do fact check on each other and not be too emotional about some of these things. You will find that somebody who has not worked a day in their life and they have a reason, or they have just been political, will call others career politicians. Some of us have been in other jobs. We have worked before, and we are currently working in other jobs. We're not just career politicians. We go to court, we go to thing. You have to earn a living. You can't earn a living in politics. But those who do so, and we end up not having worked a day in their lives.
Uncle, that's nonsense.
Yeah, because Uncle, you always say that you can, but if someone is coming attacking others, I think that's not what you always agree.
But you allowed is he not responding to the? I know, is he not responding?
He's responding. Why are you now protecting
to why he was
he was attacked.
Politician.
Yeah, I was accused of being a career politician, and I have to set the record straight. I'm not a career politician. Everyone knows my CV. Everyone knows Tendai BT's CV. Everyone knows Charlton Hwende's CV. Everyone knows Welshman. Welshman actually taught us to be lawyers, almost all of us. Everyone knows the careers of these people. But the irony is that you are then accused of being a career politician from the career politicians themselves. Well, I'll move on to the next fact. You've got court judgments. You say you discredit the same courts, but you premise your argument. You are living by saying that the same courts took our organization away. So you respect their decision to take your organization away, but you can't say, no, they are illegitimate and therefore you will not recognize them taking away the decision. You can't blow hot and cold at the same time. Recognize their decision on one aspect and then don't recognize their decision on another aspect. If it's a principled position, it must remain stated. It's either you do this and you do that. You can't say we don't recognize it now, but in fact it is the one that took our organization, it declared, and you're trying to create a precedent and saying that these courts took the decisions and therefore we are respecting the decisions. And then you say, look, we want a constitution. And then you say at the same time, show us your constitution. When we ask for your constitution, you then start saying, no, constitutions don't matter. You know, we are a group, we are this and that. But it matters. The party, the democratic movement, started as a constitutional movement. It was coming from the National Constitutional Assembly. Ours was an adherence to constitutions, an adherence to human rights, an adherence to term limits. We were born out of the National Constitutional Assembly. It matters what documentation we are using. Not only does it matter what documentation we are using, it matters the contents of that documentation. We can't take a document that is a kamuzu, like clause which says one person will appoint everyone from the bottom to the top. You cannot, and those constitutions were last seen during the Malawi era, during the Zambia Kenneth Kaunda era, and you cannot put that same constitution at the same courts and then say we who are asking for a constitution, who are saying, look, this president of a constitution is better than a constitution that says one person appoints everyone. Surely you cannot be crucified for pointing out that material fact, knowing that we arose from a constitutional amendment. And then you can't be absolute about politics to say that this will never again happen. Look at what has happened in South Africa. The biggest lesson we have learned from the South Africa ANC debacle is that everyone matters. They said Zuma does not matter. Zuma was part of them. And now they are struggling to form a government. And this is the lesson we should learn in Zimbabwe, that everyone matters. And if it has come to the fact that one can say Tendai Biti doesn't matter, Welshman doesn't matter, they have to accept any constitution that comes their way, or they should accept it as a privilege that somebody else is allowing them. It's fine. But it will soon catch up. It will soon catch up with us in the short term to say that all these people do not matter, and that their contributions are things that can be brushed aside, and their history can be mocked, and so forth. So I don't want to take much of your time. I just needed to speak to my young brother. My young brother, this is a marathon. You might have a lot of disdain for us, a lot of words to describe us, but we've walked this road. I don't know where the disrespect came from, where the contempt came from, but I don't know. This whole thing and life and politics is a marathon. And from where we are coming from, the scars are there. And then the people might say scars don't matter, but we are on the ground. We are here. And very soon, this contempt of each other, this disdain of each other, and this process that we have engaged in and we are engaging in will soon catch up with us and will not be the better. But I just came back, Uncle Gerald, to deal with certain things. Opposition is not a rich man's game. We don't make a lot of money, and we've never made a lot of money. We've tried to contribute to this process to the best of our ability. Yes, it will come a time when we will no longer be needed. It will come a time when we'll have to retire. Well, so be it. We will do so. But we've got a task at hand to help the people of Zimbabwe, and we need all hands on deck, and we need a constitutional framework that will protect each and every member in their strength and in their weakness. And this monolithic approach to the politics and to the body politic does not take us anywhere. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for
much.
that. Osanos is here.
Let me quickly.
I want to quickly engage with you. So if you can
Ango
stay there
Gerard,
for a minute,
Ango Gerard,
if you can allow
Ango
him
Gerard,
to,
Ango Gerard. Ndaichida kuvhunza kuti ko avo meya vari kutaura nyaya dzemari tichitaura nyaya dzepolitics vari kuzviwana kupi? Ende uye ngavatipewo 5 list yamapolitical parties avanga vainawo avakatumwa nawo kundovhura. Handitika then chinotevera ndechekuti ivo vari kuti ma-MP haafaniri kubva kupariamendi, but isusu vanhu tiri kuti ngavabveko, tisi takavavhotera, takaita ma-sleepless nights toga. Ivo vakanga vakati nyenyenye vari mudzimba vachinyengana navakadzi vavo, hatina kana kumbovabvunza kana one day kuti tipaiwo mari. Aiwa angojeti aiwa ndiri kukurwai chose, but kana munhu
guys,
can I just quickly
kupindura. Saka if you if you want to make a contribution, anditi, tine protocol munoziziya mukoma, isi first time yenyu ndikuuya panapa. Meya Mafume vauya kuzoresponda zvataurwa naOstalos. What he was responding is saying with those that Ostalos, he was putting in on the record straight. So now Mayor is finished, and I want to quickly go to Ostalos to give him also the chance to conversate, with him. Saka, can we allow that, to happen, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. I think that we obviously expect the necessary decorum based on the invitation that we got in our conversation. I think that maybe there must have been a misconstruence of what I've said. I made it very clear that we are going into politics not as a career choice. And I don't say this to any individual. I say it as a principle that to us, deployment in parliament and in local authority is not a deployment of a career choice, because we have also been in the employment sector. We graduated and worked, left one institutions to go to other. We worked for one of the companies on the stock exchange in the country. And we understand that it's important to have the understanding that the struggle is about contributing to the development of our country. And maybe I was misconstrued on that point. To me, that point was I was stressing the need to have an understanding that we are not in this struggle as a career choice. And secondly, I'm not so sure where I might have erred in raising my facts with greater respect, because my intention and objective was just to clarify, particularly on the two facts about the legal standing of the CCC and the various factions of the MDC, and I attempted to the best of my ability and with greatest humility to just state the facts so that at least our citizens can be aware in terms of what happens historically and what is happening. And I take note, of course, a point from my brother Jacob around the struggle being a marathon. I also subscribe to that view that it's not a one-day wonder. It's a long and winding struggle, and it is important. Like I said, that personally, I believe that if I get tired, I'll just sit under the tree and let others be. And then once I'm ready, I come back and join with the progressive forces. We march on so that I don't undermine the struggle because of certain grievances that I might be holding. And I raise this with greatest respect and honor. That is my general belief about the struggle. And I genuinely believe that we learn a lot from the experiences of our elders, that we lead and live. And such a time will come. I've greater respect, I think is publicly known, of these leaders that we've worked with, high regard. And I understand that at the end of the day, we ought to advance our struggle without undermining it. We ought to advance our struggle and undermining it. The last factor was here to bring was on the fate and the fact about Sengezo Chabangu. He is nowhere near the CCC. He's the last person who can claim anything to do with the CCC. Any other person can, but not Sengezo Chabangu. He has no iota of standing that he can claim to say, I belong to CCC on the basis of 1, 2. And these are just facts, as it were. And I was here to just state, those facts. And I think that it is important for citizens to just know this historical experience and what transpired, particularly internally within the organization. So that was my intention, and thank you very much.
I appreciate. Thank you very much for the clarity. I hope, Mayor Mafume, I hope there was clarity there.
Yeah, well, I think there was. I appreciate the backtracking, but people must understand that we are not trifling. I don't understand why a person talks about us saying we were sleeping with our wives during an election, and when Kuda has explained the process, Kuda walked with us. We didn't sleep at all. We never slept. We were at polling stations. We were funding. We were moving. And hello?
No, I can hear you. Continue.
we were funding. If we are jumping off out of disrespect, then we are never going to move this struggle. We are not parasitic. We contributed to the formation. We took people to court. We buried people. We defended people in the courts. We've got families right now, the people right there in the diaspora, whom we rescued from base camps, whom we took out of jail on bail applications. We've put in the hours, whose lives we rescued. There are many, and I recognize many of them on this platform are listening to us. We are not people who went begging. We are lawyers. We are doctors. We are business people. We worked at the top of our profession. Right now, we go to court. We are at the premium of our profession. We are not the people who are just running around looking to be elected simply because we exist. We are not like that. And when I tell you that I'm the one who went to ZEC, I know what I'm doing. It was not coincidental. I was not a messenger. People knew that if I went to ZEC and I wanted a name done and a name given, it will be done, and it was done. I took the Triple C. I'm not a dum-dum who takes a name and an organization that is going to undermine my role and position in that particular organization. You think I would go there to ZEC with a Triple C thing that says I'm not part of it, that says there's only one person who will be part of it? I mean, if that is the quality of a lawyer that I am, how will I represent people in parliament? How will I represent your interests when I can't represent my own interests in my own organization? It is just oxymoronic and a terrible contradiction and a belief that other people are inherently stupid. We are not fools. I can't go to ZEC, spend my whole day trying to get a name registered, trying to get a party going on, a party that simply undermines my role within itself and my organization, and then expect the same people to have faith in me that I will represent them in council, that I will represent them in parliament, when I can't represent my own interests in my own organization. It is just beyond belief that somebody could believe that we are that silly, that people could take off on a premise that we did not understand what we were doing, that when we were trying to be with our president, that when we were trying to be part of this movement, we didn't even understand what role we would play in it. We didn't even know whether we are in a new thing or an old thing. We didn't even know what would be our respective rights and obligation in that thing. Who does that? And if we are that type of political leaders, then probably, how are we going to represent the people in parliament when you can't represent yourself? If you are a lawyer and you enter into agreements that are detrimental to your law firm, and then you expect to attract other clients, I think, guys, we should respect each other.
Right.
President Nelson Chamisa, not because we felt that he was going to undermine us, but we felt that he was going to not only elevate the people of Zimbabwe, but everybody else. So this narration that seems to make a mockery, not less than an accumulation of political experience that is worth over 100 years and legal experience that is worth 100 years, into a narration that my brother here, who must know that this is a marathon, can make a mockery of no less than luminaries that have, in their CV, have managed to bring an inclusive government, negotiated to political rights, appointed judges, appointed boards, and brought this country to where it is, managed this economy, and allowed people to be liberated at one point in time in terms of the economy, and negotiated political settlements, are people who could not recognize the constitution, who could not defend themselves, and who could not understand their role in the organization that they were part of. It is really sad and tragic. And for you or other people to try and convince us that is who we are is very sad. I had just come back to just make this point, but I thank you.
Mayor, thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say, can I also ask Mayor Mafume a question?
All right, just hold on.
Because I haven't asked you.
All right, you will do. I just wanted to say, Kuna Mayor Mafume. I don't know, whatever has happened, do you feel like there's an undertone of we feel like kind of attacking each other as leaders instead of you guys obviously coming together and bringing whatever the difference is from the presentation that you guys are presenting? We feel there's definitely pana togetherness, paneka undertone attacking each other. And how do you think, obviously, the electorate, the people that the people that is for you, the people that are looking up to you as you guys are the leaders, how do you think that comes through? Because from that presentation, we just feel like hakuna harmony kudenga kwa Morocco. So I don't know what you have to say about that, Mayor.
Well, look, the problem is that we look down on each other. We seem to be ahistorical in our understanding of our respective contribution. Everyone here speaks so highly of their contribution from where they are. They speak so passionately about how they helped, how they did not sleep. But they don't understand when Job Scala spends 2 years in jail and comes back being mocked because he probably spoke in an accent. They don't understand how a person feels when they go to jail and come back and they are being told they are nothing. But yet here, everybody speaks so passionately about their own contribution from various corners of the world. But those of us who are in the center, we find that our contribution is minimized versus somebody who probably didn't, who says they didn't sleep. You slept in jail. I know the jail cells. I know the stories. I slept with 150 people. I got COVID. People died in the cell that I was in. We carried the people out. I slept with 150, 300 and so individuals in one cell. We had one toilet. We had no windows. It was raining. The Christmas in jail, New Year in jail, and for it to 2.5 years for Job Scala. Most of these compatriots slept in this jail. Yet it is so minuscule, it is so minimized. And others' contribution from wherever the corner of the world they are, is so magnified. It means the world to them. That at one point they didn't sleep during an election time. People didn't sleep in their homes. People were beaten. Ladies were abducted. We went to pick them up. And it becomes minimized. I don't understand it. I can't get my head around it. How a person you ask if they were to walk a mile in our shoes, how will they react? You come out. Your family couldn't pay rentals. Your family couldn't eat. Your children didn't know where you were. Children were crying. That those that are young probably think you are not coming back, and you are not coming back. The children playing adult prayers for fellow adults. You come out and you are told that you are nothing if you are not with this person. You are nothing. Your whole existence is because someone else was, and therefore you were. It is beyond me. I've never understand it. I don't understand it. And I'm thinking, if we are going to go along this path where the contributions of compatriots that are inside is so minimized, I don't know where we are going, and that is why probably there is now lethargy. Everyone doesn't want to be arrested. No one wants to get into a street. No one wants to, everybody is now avoiding. No one wants even to leave the parliament or to be fired. Before, we used to embrace danger. We used to say, let's be fired next. Let me be arrested next. Let me do this. But the moment we start minimizing that type of contribution, I don't know, my brother. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
That I feel that everyone's contribution from wherever they are in the corner of the world is so easy to magnify. But the contribution of those that are inside, it's so easy to minimize.
Can I also speak, Uncle Gerard? Please. I've been waiting for decades.
Sorry, Sister
The time was talking. Like, please, Uncle Gerard.
Okay,
I only wanted to say answer yangu haina kuanziwa, saka ndatenda hangu moudza vamafume kuti maita basa. Ndanichingoda ma5 political parties amakaenda nawo kuzeki manje mati hamuna, saka zvakanaka. Thank you so much.
I went with Triple C, I went with CDC, I went with what is it, ADC, I went with what's the other one was Triple C, ADC. I went with I forget the fourth and fifth one, but I can get them. They were simply a play around democracy, change, convergence 3 times, because I wanted to camouflage the real name that we wanted. The real name that we wanted was Triple C, and then we told them on the eve of nomination, that is the close of nomination was Tuesday. Nomination these days takes 7 days. On the eve, we then told them that it is Triple C, and we then gave them the face and the logo of the name. But we had those 5 variations that played around alliance, democracy, and so forth.
But you said you are not new. You said you are the old. So how were you going as the new? Hi, this. Okay, we'll wait. I'll wait for my.
Can I speak, Uncle Jude, please?
Jessica, you are close. You see, I don't like having polemics with people I'm close to in the
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, that's fine. So what we'll do, Mayor, if you don't mind, so there've been people on the platform been holding on for a while. So what I'll do, I'll ask 3 people to just throw their questions to you. Then if you can just quickly answer. So I go to Rumbi, I go to Tino, and I go to Glenn. Please, let's go in that order.
All right. So,
Tafi, can you not see her hands?
Excuse me?
Yeah, I'll come to you, Mercy.
I was there before the people you mentioned.
No, I was here before you, ma'am.
I think
sorry.
I was. But it's
fine.
No.
Actually, it's you coming up. So sorry, ma'am.
Guys,
Can I speak?
You are selectively putting.
All right, guys. Sorry, I understand. Guys, trust me, like if you ask Uncle Jet, so there've been people coming in on the space, dropping and stuff. So it's really, if you really understand, Uncle Jet will tell you. So with over 74 people requesting, yeah. So some people have been coming in and dropping. So Mercy, I see you are there on the platform, so you come. So if I go to Rumbi, yeah, you ask your question. If I go to Tino, you ask your question. I go to Glenn. Then after that, we can go to the next. I'll give you a chance. So yeah, Rumbi, if you can unmute, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And good evening, everyone. Honestly, I just want to thank you, all of you, for your commitment, your sacrifices, and what you've gone through. So,
yeah, she's speaking.
Because I don't have.
Oh, I can't hear you, so it means Mayor cannot hear as well.
Oh, is it? Oh, too bad. Right.
But can you hear me?
Hold on. So, Tino, can you say something? I want to hear if Uncle can hear you.
Yes, I can hear Tino.
Yes.
You can hear Tino. Rumbi, so please drop and I'll bring you back. Tino, go ahead, ask your question, please.
Okay, can I ask you 2 questions? One is very short one. So the first question to Mayor Mafume is, I heard the Honorable Hwende saying that they are going to have a Congress very soon. How soon is it? Is it 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? That's the first question. Then the second question, it was with his recent submission that he did. He said that he is not stupid and they are not fools. When did they start knowing that they are not fools? Is it after the elections when Chabangu did the recalls, or it's because that kind of language, we know that what was happening, that we are new, we are the new, that is the thing that when we were actually doing the spaces for fundraising, that was the language that we had. And that's what we all know, that this is a new thing, we are starting new, we don't have structure and all those kind of things. That's what we knew. So when did they start knowing that they are not fools, they are not stupid? Is it after they were elected?
Right.
And when Chabangu started doing the recalls?
Okay, great. Glenn, please, if you can ask your question.
Thank you. I think my contribution is that, comrades, in everything I've heard here, I think we are lacking one thing, and that is taking stock. What I hear and what I see is the casting of aspersions, sometimes bordering on insults, but no one has really attempted from all these different corners of the opposition, by the way. It's one corner of the democratic body politic. No one has attempted to take stock. So I'm just trying to outline quickly what I think. Can I take you back to the time when strategic...
Do you have a question, Mkoma Glenn?
But please, can I speak?
I said, do you have a question? I said, do you have a question?
Yes, I'm going to my question. Also, Nkoma Gerard, I really respect that you're hosting the space, but this is the same thing that Tadini was saying, that someone came and we endured 30 minutes of a public lecture because we are interested in these questions that we're having now. And then the moment I speak for 2 seconds, you stop me.
I asked you a question. Do you have a question? Because when you started, you did not start as a person that you with a question. So I needed to find out whether you have
I think it's important to let...
So are you saying that I should not be asking you that? No. Can
you allow me to speak?
And if you wouldn't accuse or of something of stopping you, midway. But I needed to ask
I didn't even speak
you
10 seconds
to hear from you. You're acting as if
Did you want me to
No, Glenn, I think Uncle Jet just wanted to say you were giving
because look, Glenn, I've been here from 3.
Is there a question which you said
yes,
there is? So go ahead.
It's a question session.
Yes.
Quickly, have my questions to end us.
All right, I'm leading to a question. Can you allow me to speak? Thank you. So I was saying no one is taking stock. So going back to the point of strategic ambiguity, and I'm going to ask a question following Ostalo's contribution. He said that President Chamisa stated that I have registered a party, and it is just me, comrades were huddling at Bronte, trying to be a part of that, right? And then now we have a situation where when people asked you to say, who are in your structures, you didn't answer. And people were accused of being what? Neutrals, being Zanu PF and everything. And then it gave rise to things like what happened with Chabangu. My question is, are we ever going to come to a place where you are willing to take stock? Question number 1. Question number 2, when you are speaking to citizens, what I've heard is, we have a constitution. Where is your constitution? Sometimes referring to constitutions. Have these constitutions been made available to the public? As the democratic alternative, why are you not intentionally, deliberately going to great lengths to make sure that voters can easily find these constitutions? Number 1. Secondly, it's your job to do voter education so people know. What we then have now is the last question, which I have to all the citizens here, to say, when we then engage in political discourse, are we doing this from a point of understanding what we're talking about, or from a point of being led and mostly on emotions? Because when these party bearers are now coming on public spaces, they do not speak to the facts. They speak to their personalities, they attack each other, they speak to conjecture, and they even question the things that they once spoke about in unison. And this is where my question to the citizens is, when is the day going to come when we as citizens are going to be willing to say, I am investing myself in understanding, especially before elections, after elections? Now we're not politicking, to understand, who am I voting for? What do they stand for? What do they want? What is their ideology? Thank you, Nkoma Gerard.
Right. Thanks, Glenn. Mayor Mafuma, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you hear did you hear the 2 questions? One from Tino and the last one from Glenn.
All right. Yes, I heard the questions from Tino. I don't know. How you respond to a question which says, when did you realize you were not stupid? I don't know. Respectfully, it's a platform. This is what I was saying, that some of these things are difficult to comprehend, where someone wants you to take off. When did you realize you were not stupid, and when did you realize you were not a fool? And I think what the SG was trying to say is that we are not here to engage in political hierarchy. We don't come into an organization that is purely set to destroy ourselves, be it our political processes or even our own positioning. No one does that. I can't understand how people have a legitimate expectation that we really desired to be nothing, or we desired not to have a defined role. I mean, you can't be in a position where if you are asked by a kindergarten child, what are you in your party? And you say you don't know. And you expect people to take you seriously. It's like the contribution by my brother here to say that somebody can make it a political statement that I'm a president and I have no vice president, and then expect that to make sense, to prosper. That is an argument. To say I have an office that has no deputy, I have an office that has no secretary general. Who is the minute taker? Who is the chair of the meeting? You can't be everything in one.
Makade makazviramba kare, not nas. Mungade makazviramba pazvakaitika, not nas. Today is too late.
Right.
You should have done it a long time ago.
They don't have that kind of setup, you know. People
Then you should have started something different.
You have deputies and I really don't follow that line of reasoning and expect. I mean, can you imagine? Maybe it makes sense in the Zimbabwean context, but can you imagine trying to go out of your country and going to a SADC meeting and saying, okay, we have come, we are this political party, we have a president, okay, who else is with you? No one.
There are many opposition parties in the world with that structure, Mayor. You might want to rescind your comment.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but
yeah, but
and as Vitorico, there are a lot of structures like that in the world.
We would like to know which ones they are.
Guys,
we would like to know which
you
ones
followed
they are.
through these things. Why did you follow Chamisa into oblivion if he was being oblivious?
Yes.
You should have left him the moment
you
realized.
Parties that
yes,
like that.
You can't come now and tell us what you're saying. You should have left him the second day you realized that.
No, these ones that are saying they're political parties with no members. With no roles, which are just president-led. We would like to know which ones.
Yeah. There's so many.
And how they represent
even
themselves.
In Zimbabwe,
how they send representatives.
Exactly.
Okay, can I also make with the Mayor Mafume? Mayor Mafume, you said that what kind of a question which says stupid, I'm stupid or a fool. I didn't make that up because it's you who said that, to say that we are not fools, we are not stupid. So what I was asking is, because these things that you are mentioning, before elections, they were there. And even President Chamisa even says that we don't have such positions. That is before elections. And you guys, you were quiet. No one came here and make these kind of submissions like what you are doing right now. We only hear these things after the elections when Chabangu started destroying the party.
Exactly.
That's where we
president became president is the same way that people hate their positions. Their positions were never liquidated. There is a process of liquidating political positions. And if you were to liquidate the political position, you liquidate it directly. You don't create a confusion. A person is told either they get a letter, either they are suspended, either the whole Congress and the whole leadership sits down and votes to dissolve each other. So, and that is how you dissolve a leadership. It's so elementary that it is sad and tragic that the opposition has gotten to the point where it cannot even understand how it terminates position, how it brings about positions, and how it happens in a church, it happens in a burial society. There is a football club, whatever it is. If you are going to get somebody out, everyone knows you are either the disciplinary process or this and that. You just don't suddenly wake up and you are not what you were when you put a lot of effort to be what you are. So everybody knows it's not a thing that people can argue. It is there. No matter how many words, how many flowery words a person will want to describe that process, there is a process of doing things. Whether it is popular or unpopular, we never started the democratic struggle from the premise of popular. When we started this democratic struggle, one would argue that Zanu-PF was more popular than what we were. But we stood on a principle that an organization must have a constitution. A constitution must have decision-making processes. It must have a way of coming into being and a way of not being. And that it must be clear. Every member must be able to read a copy of the Constitution. Every member must get their own copy of the Constitution, and they must refer to it when they want to get into position. We never, at any time, envisaged that our organization will have a constitution that no one can see, and no one can quote, and no one can talk about. We never,
Mayor, you should resign from Triple C.
Any of our wildest dreams.
Guys, can we have people speak one at a time? I know Guti, you are eager, to want to chime in here and there, but I think when it becomes that chorus, we lose the purpose of the space, and it won't. I won't be in a position to continue like that. I want to respect him. He has joined us as a guest, so I just think that we should be respecting him. We should be protecting him as well. I know good my questions but at times, guys, let us just be ngatingozviita zvingori orderly tipedze ngichirongwa because it's been a long day.
Absolutely.
Right. So, I get to the next thing. The speakers, I'm off. I think
we're going to Rumbi, Masi, and Tererai. Those were right.
Okay. So, Uncle Gerald, can you hear me?
Sorry, Uncle Gerald.
Please, guys. No. Guys, can we just move on, please?
Congress. I want to open.
Right. And so Congress. When are you going to Congress?
Congress is supposed to be held this year. I think the latest date, depending on the last Congress, would be sometime in November or December. So the preparation would be to target any day before that. I think starting from end of June, you can hold the Congress in any of those months. Beyond that, in terms of the constitution that we have.
Right. Thank you very much. Let's go to Rumbi Masi and Mkoma Obey.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me now, Uncle Gerald?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, that's fine. Thank you. But honestly, I just wanted to say thank you guys for your commitment, really. It has been a long journey, and we're still on the journey. But I'm sure we're very close. All these meetings can show you that no, we are about to clean up. It's a cleanup campaign, What I want to say is that I'm a firm believer that when you really want to deal with the problem, you have to get to the bottom of it. I think we have been through this with Monzora. We are back again with the same drama. I think we need to start asking questions, not really from a political point, and say, at what point are we going to say this is enough? Because I can see that some people love it when we are always fighting, spending all our time cracking heads. Maybe education can be a curse sometimes, because we're kind of looking at things that are not existing, because we are kind of communicating from this educative point of view. ZANU-PF don't. They know the machination of violence, they know the machination of gimmicks that they are playing. That's what I'm saying. When are we going to say, can we just maybe meet them at the point of their level and start really respecting protest? And I'm talking about real protests, not violent, no, protesting in the country. When I wish the guy is here that is Osalo, if he could answer, are we really going to get a point where we say, let's do some protests in the country? Because guys, we must be honest. We are not going anywhere. We are simply roaming around the circle. But we need a solution to come out of this quagmire. There's a lot of toxicity. We are hating each other unnecessarily. We need a solution. This is why I think I'm pro-Chamisa at this point in time, in terms of the angle that is taken off the SADC route. Maybe if we can have like external interference in terms of negotiations, we can reach somewhere. Guys, this is not life, man. We are not living. We're in prison. We are not living. We must tell each other the truth, Zimbabwe. We are not living. South Africa did their elections. They're not perfect, but yeah, they are sitting around the table. They're sending letters. They are communicating. They're laughing. Here we are being abused by just few individuals who have their own personal interests. And then I like to get to the bottom of our problem, Ango Gerard. It breaks my heart to see most of you people, almost 1.4 people are here, talking about the same old thing. And the very same people who keep such asset ransom are at home sleeping. This is diabolical and evil, and they are our brothers and our people. It breaks my heart. And this is all I'm going to say. At what point are we going to say we are on our way to the streets and we are going to protest really amicably and to say we have had enough? We can't be held ransom by one man with his friends. It cannot be. We deserve to live a normal life. We deserve to be in bed right now. Some of us, we should be married. Our husbands are stuck somewhere because of few people. Enough, had enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there ever any chance of street protest, Mia? Any demonstrations or protests?
I'm telling you, with the way that people undermine other people's contributions, with the way that people emphasize that other people are nothing, I've been in the opposition all my life. During the time of Morgan Tsvangirai, the emphasis was on we the people. We will do it. It was never centered on one person. He would hold, we would form all forms of coalitions, Save Zimbabwe, NERA. At any given time, he was trying and was always forming coalitions with churches, with civic society, and so forth. I don't understand how people are going to inspire people by a centrist approach that simply emphasizes that one person is more important than others, and that if you want to contribute, just contribute towards that one center. I mean, it's a new model. Maybe the guys that are championing it know more than I do, but we had borrowed. We used to borrow from the movement in South Africa, from the movements in Eastern Europe, which were more based on civic education, more of the many and not the few. Now this theoretical framework that we are operating under, that says you first have to be individualistic. Your contribution can only be seen in relation to one. There's no constitution, nothing. You are nothing. You have no role. You can't even define you are protesting as who. Are you a street person and so forth? There's no form. Nothing. I don't know.
Right.
I want to tell the truth, as the other said.
Right.
I'm used to form, structure, and organization. And in the absence of that, because you need to know that if you get beaten, where will you get treated? Who will your lawyer be? Who will come and take to your family? And even if you die, who is going to be able to bury you with the dignity that you deserve? If you can't identify those simple and elementary issues around civic action, I don't know. These are the structures that were formed by Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela's, and all these other people. Even the people who are in government now, they have structures and they form and they shape. I don't understand how people think that we will be able to spontaneously go into the street. At this point, speaking for myself, and this is probably not an organizational point of view, my background.
Okay, that's
That's
fine. Yeah, just one after the other. Go on, tell masses. Okay, for you to go first. Then,
okay. That's fine. Thank you, Titus, and thank you, Mkoma Anko, for hosting this space. Of course, I say thank you for hosting the space, though it's actually unfortunate that we are having a space of this nature to discuss circumstances that are surrounding the happenings within the opposition public like this. It's quite unfortunate because, as you see it, it is the regime which becomes the greatest winner when you have our conversations taking place public like this. But nonetheless, because we've already arrived at this particular point, I think it's also important just to say a few things around why we've arrived at this point. I think this is actually a clear sign that we've sort of eliminated all the avenues that could have allowed the resolution of these issues internally. Because the reality of the matter is that since the formation of the opposition movement in 1999, it would be untrue and it would be dishonest of us to say that we've not had issues within the movement, within the alternative. Issues have been there, but I guess they've been resolved within internal platforms, and there were such platforms that allowed things to happen. Unfortunately, I guess those places have been exhausted for the reason that we probably won't know, for a reason that we would not never know. But I think that is the starting point. And it is a clear sign that something is wrong and something is amiss. And it is beyond me, perhaps, to describe and prescribe. At the same time, I will only simply say the situation as I see it. But now, well, when I was following the conversations, there are things that I feel like I also need to contribute a little bit, which are more of comments than questions. I see a lot of people are talking about where is the problem and what can be the solution. I guess a lot of people have asked about what could be the solution. And in my view, as an entry point, I think the first solution to whatever that we are facing, which we all cannot describe, is also the honest levels of our leaders. Us as the people who are leading people, and people have been entrusted by the role to play in the opposition. To be honest, comrades and friends, the thing that we are seeing here is just a tip of the things that are happening. And our leaders, perhaps myself included, we are not being honest to each other on why we've arrived here. So anyone, because it's a question of wanting to portray yourself in a particular image, people are telling you half-truth of the causes and the challenges that we are facing as a country. And for as long as we do not look at the things that have taken us here holistically, we'll keep on going in circles and we'll continue to have spaces like these ones where we are talking about things without necessarily resolving them. Because in my view, resolving a crisis starts with understanding the source of a crisis. And for as long as people are still comfortable by not talking about the sources of those issues, then we are not ready to find a solution. So I would say if we are to find a solution, it should start with us being honest with each other. That, okay, look, come on, guys. There were mistakes that we did here and there. Perhaps when we did those mistakes, it was driven by the idea of wanting to do something. Of course, experiments are possible. Even when we're doing integrated science, we're going to laboratories and try experiments. But there are some experiments which might not work. So let's go to the drawing board and say, okay, that's fine. We tried something that did not work. But what is it that should bring us together again as comrades, as friends? And for the record, I must not necessarily like you as a person, uncle, as an example, for us to work together. There should be something that unites us collectively, that should be able to put us together in the same room, resolve on something and work on it. So it's normal that people can be enemies amongst themselves. That should be expected because we come from different places. Some are tall, some are short, some are light in complexion, some are dark. So for as long as of those differences, it's also possible that people do have to disagree. But if there's something that brings us together, which is a collective goal, we should be able to unite. But as it stands, I mean, it's sad to witness this, but I feel like we have lost the collective goal amongst us as an opposition movement. And our interests are totally different. But it's also possible to have different interests because if you do not define the goal that has brought us together, then anyone else can wake up and do what or he or she feels is probably good for him. And I think I also need to underscore here that whenever we look at the things that are happening, I see a lot of labels being attached to people. This one is that, this one belongs to that person, this one is a sellout, and this one's not a sellout. A lot of labels. I think also need to understand that before we make judgments on personal decisions of people, it is important to understand that we are also human beings collectively. The same way you get emotional when your sort of your ex-girlfriend disappoints you, it's also normal that a person can get emotional on political issues. We are all human beings. We deal with emotions. And more importantly, we have to understand that when people come and join politics, their individuals are also coming from their own families. And there's a certain motivation that brings them. This is a voluntary thing, right? So when someone comes voluntarily, so he also expects that whatever vehicle that is going to be on board is going to offer that which has attracted him or her to be on board. So if those things start to go missing, I'm sure that people would also try to think of other alternative ways. And I think this is where we've had a problem. It is the fact that so many things have happened over the years, which was in a way a temporal diversion of the principles that have been known within the opposition movement. And whenever a change of approach has come on board, it is normal for people also to question those changes. And if answers are not provided on those changes, it's normal that every person, because we are people with different interests, people start to find some alternative. The very same way in which one would wake up and say, we no longer have structures, it's also possible that someone can wake and say we need to retain the structure. So it's that kind of debate among people with different interests and different views. Don't like, but I can't say it because he or she is my favorite. And for as long as we do not become people are able to call a spade, then we are also doing a great disservice to us as the humanity, to us as the people of Zimbabwe. We must also not blame people who have made their choices because they are people just like you. If you make a choice of wanting to have a buffet of Indian in an Indian restaurant and someone makes a choice to have a vegan meal, that should be respected. But you should not then downplay as somebody who has chosen a particular route to pursue. Because like what I said earlier, if we are human beings, we should understand that we are bound to be different. And this whole thing of labeling people because of a disagreed, it's just unfair. And I want to repeat one more thing that I probably might have said elsewhere. You see, as a nation, we've been made to consume a lot of revision facts. So I might want also to say something. You know, when people become differences emerge among us people, it's normal for us to rewrite things that are real. I might want to give you reference to what happened. I mean, we all grew up reading stories that Joyce Mujuru, at some point during the liberation struggle, shot a helicopter down. It was only until 2014 when there were factional differences within ZANU-PF, when a lot of things started to be said that no, actually, after all, it wasn't Joyce Mujuru who did that. So that level, I'm afraid that it's also starting to trickle in within the opposition movement. And this is what we are seeing now. And I feel like we just need to be sincere to ourselves and minimize this insatiable appetite to be what we are opposing. We have stood up to oppose ZANU-PF for over the years. So many people, I mean, someone talked about sacrifices, how they sacrificed their money, how they took some flights to go and vote in Zimbabwe, how they did a lot of things. I mean, we cannot have a yardstick of we have sacrificed much. Everyone else in our small or big circles, we have sacrificed for the betterment of Zimbabwe. So that should not be a cause for concern, because if you say, I took a flight to go to Zimbabwe, someone might not have taken a flight, but probably took a bicycle from his homestead to the polling station. Any level and any form of sacrifice.
You can now, bring it down.
Sorry, I missed that bit.
That is, if you can come to a close. If you can come to land, please.
Ipapa matoti ndidaiso but nakadai ndatonopedza but la urega ndichipedza.
It's
okay.
That was a question and answer session and more.
But look now. Mukoma angu kana makudaro kama kutoita usiripoka, because look, I was also patient when people were just coming in and out. I'm about to finish, but then you are also making.
But guys, do you realize how much effort?
But I'm not asking a question, Terry. Just ask a question if you have a question.
But you did.
Or if you are coming as a panelist, just tell us that you are part of the cabal.
I know, but I thought I clarified when I entered. I said I don't have more questions, rather comments also as an input to what I heard being discussed.
So, yeah, but you are claiming to be a leader. Are you a leader in the CCC or not?
Where did I claim to be a leader?
You claimed you called yourself a leader.
But who is not a leader? You are also leader. Don't you lead yourself?
No, we're not talking about
Kumbakwangu right now. Leader. So what does leadership mean? You are leading your family.
You see? So just ask your question. Ask your question. We need to move to Masi.
But it's okay. It's okay. Yes, I'm a leader. But leadership, it's okay. But that's leadership.
I'm not a politician. I'm not a chief.
But it's fine. Just to answer your question, yes, I am a leader in different spheres. I think I've answered your question. But anyway, I continue with the I was supposed to complete what I was saying. I think also what we need to move away from is this appetite of being internally focused. Zimbabweans, I mean, also the things that have sort of brought us here is because people are internally focused. Right now, look at what is happening on Twitter. It's an attack of one after the other, but ZANU-PF is going unpunished on a lot of things that they've done. And we are busy also throwing spears and arrows against each other with it. So that would be my since you have talked about the issue of wanting to save time, I'll stop here, but I would kindly ask you also to stay here in case I might need to respond to some things. Thank you so much, Mukoma Anko. Like what I said, for hosting the space, though it was unneeded. This is a very sad space that we are discussing things internally. We should not have reached this point if we had avenues to exhaust all our internal issues, find internal remedies. I thank you once again.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Obey. Let's move on to Mercy.
Hello. I hope I won't also be forced to kumanikizwa kuti nditange a question, because all the other speakers were able to contextualize. They've been able to get in, they've been able to return, they've been able to interrupt. So our patience also deserves to be given. That space.
You are not setting us that you're going to be long, are you, Mercy?
I will not be long. I will attempt not to be long. I'm just saying, fairness must be fairness. Apana vamwe who are allowed to preach and then have 13 times to ask questions. And then
go ahead, Mercy. Go ahead, please.
So in Uncle Jet, I don't think this space shouldn't happen. I actually am pro that you opened this space, because these people do not have a space to do these things that they are being told to go and do elsewhere. And this shows the kind of oppression that they live under, this competitive authoritarian regime. A country that does not allow brothers, when they break up, to find peace. I'm sure you didn't even have to beg them. As they started to speak about each other, their people started to talk and they couldn't wait to come and respond. So, Uncle Jed, you should open these spaces, because on their own, no matter how many people come here and tell us they know them personally, they are unable to sit these brothers down and get them to talk. Ndiwe Wega na Titus, host and co-host, who have created them this space. And they should not be allowed to go and have these talks secretly, because manyepo avo are being revealed today. That what they discuss in closed doors, when they come before public, they are able to ignore mumwe wavo achinyepa. That's why it just keeps saying, why didn't you sort it then? Because pakwaitwa manyepo in front of people, he kept quiet, hoping he can solve it behind the scenes. To do is to be populist. As long as manyepo that have been said publicly that are not coherent to what is happening behind were doing them what they wanted, they left it. But when zwaputika, that's when now they say principle yangu yangeiri, principle yangu. So they must come here so the citizens of Zimbabwe can see what their leadership is in front of Pamguabo. Don't hide them. Don't know them personally, Mimi, Masapota Moya Moti Woods, what you know about them. Today we had the opportunity. You can never lie to us that you know we've seen them naked in front of us. That even when they err and don't even misinterpret what the other has said, they cannot apologize. Even when an apology is given indirectly, the other cannot accept. Ostalos was misunderstood when they responded in retaliation. Ostalos, instead of coming and saying, brother, honest to God, it wasn't. And even when he did try and say, no, that's not what I meant, Mayor could not accept. He said, well, even it so, mazwionera mega. Kuti why simple, trivial things become misunderstood. Issues of elitism, same preach. I'm not preaching. My question was this, Mayor, how will the relationship be like for people who come to us, public, and tell us we stand with Chamisa, when the whipping system in Parliament will involve this person who is the chief whip? Their ability to speak in Parliament would sometimes be via this. Can you explain to people the significance of a chief whip in Parliament for a person who says, I do not recognize this person? How significant is that person to the person who denies accepting knowing them? And yet they tell a citizen, I am going to represent you. What is the role of a chief whip? Mayor Mafume, that would be my question. So we mix rhetoric and reality. Zwatinoudwa nema-politician ne-reality of protocols in the house.
Awesome. Thanks, Mercy. Mayor Mafume, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Well, the chief whip is the chief whip. The chief whip whips the parliamentarians. Our system is the British system, which is a whipping system. So on certain issues where the party line is required to be towed, the chief whips, it is their role to whip anybody into line. You see, the only challenge is that our parliaments are a mixture of a lot of things, African political issues. Our parliamentarians have constituency funds and things like that they control. They have many other roles beyond voting. some of these parliaments do not make so many laws in the first place. You might find that a few bills get their way through the life of a parliament, and that is when parliamentarians are whipped. But the rest of their time is spent representing their constituencies vis-a-vis various government departments, private sector, and NGOs. So the usefulness of parliamentarians is in all those spheres, and we believe that it's a space. Look, we're not going to surrender the space. I don't understand the need to surrender the space. People will move in constituencies. I've never come across a constituency that says in the word that says, "Councillor, please leave the council." I mean, it's not going to happen. People have got existentialist issues here. They want water. They want refuse removed. They want jobs. They want clinics open. They want schools, and their needs. I dare say they need access to a councillor or to an MP that they elected, and more often than not, the bulk of the people in the constituencies need these MPs represent. Like right now, the messages I'm getting from my ward is around issues to do with water, issues to do with the repair of boreholes. We need to understand the context where we are operating in. The context we are operating in is that there's debilitating and grinding poverty, and people at the end of the day might not have time to deal with the nuances that we've been dealing with this whole evening. People really airtime, just to have airtime or just to have the phone that can be able to phone and then have airtime. It's something phenomenal. So yes, this is very good. We are at the stock exchange of politics, where we are able to argue nuanced positions and characterization, which says these people are naked and so forth and so forth. But right now, I can assure you, in the morning, I was in Hopley just yesterday. If you look at the Zoom daily pages, this is a constituency of 180,000 people. I had a meeting of close to 2,000 people in the morning, and all they needed was piped water. We gave them piped water to 3,000 homes, and there are 39,000 homes that need the piped water. So the debate there and the issues there were simply that, guys, can you please extend the water to our area? It's now in this area. Can you please, councillor or mayor, make sure that we have water in the... So these guys have lived there for over 30 years, and there's no tap of water, and there are 100,000 of them. And then you've got Caledonia and so forth. I really don't know. It would help if yes, some might feel that's what we do every day. We argue. I've tried to put on our social media the things that we do every day and the changes that it brings into the people's life, child-headed homes, and so forth and so forth. So I appreciate Uncle Gerald. I know I left earlier. Some of your members then followed me up for me to come back. But I really must say that let's have a mix. As much as you call us elite, but surely, if I were to tell my ward and constituents that there are people who sit over 2 or 3 hours and they have Wi-Fi that doesn't end, you might be surprised that this whole group of people is considered elite. from the people that I serve. So as we point at each other, we must know that the four other fingers are pointing at ourselves. I would dare say that anyone who can spend 20 minutes on a Wi-Fi conversation from where we sit is the elite of elites, the weakness of data.
Right. Thanks for that response, man.
Just 1 minute. Can I come in? Then I drop.
Yeah, go. I had a lineup, but I'll allow you to just go for a minute.
Oh, okay. Oh, thanks, Titus. Mr. Mayor, what was Chabangu's position before Triple C formation that made him your SG now that you religiously follow? And also, you answer this. The problem is with our politicians. We know you guys, we are friends, we are business partners behind the scenes. You don't want to tell each other the truth, which is so and so, Wakanganisa, so and so, Mchenges. And there is this sense of entitlement to say, I was arrested, we formed the MDC in 99, all those things. It's done and dusted. You did that, so what? Let's move on. Are you saying it's now payback time? Are you saying now it's payback time for you to have done all that? Who doesn't know our state of our prisons in Zimbabwe? If you aren't there for money, for power, why are you a mayor? Why are you an MP? All those that are in parliament. We, the people, the voters are saying, we don't recognize you, Mr. Mayor, respectfully. All the MPs in Parliament, we don't recognize you. It's us, the voters, who are saying this. Don't keep on referring to MDC. Tsangirai is gone. Now we have got a new formation. Triple C, led by Nelson Chamisa, is our president, and we follow Nelson Chamisa. You might do what you are doing with your Chabangu Kabao. We don't recognize you. It's just your time, but you will soon end. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Shumba. Mayor, do you want to respond?
What? Can you summarize the question? I couldn't hear anything.
Shumba, can you summarize your question?
I said, what was Chabangu's position before Triple C formation? That made him your SG now.
Oh, Uncle, you can summarize for him.
Oh, okay. So,
can you hear me? Can you hear me, Titus?
Yeah, I can hear you. So I think the question.
I'm saying what was.
I heard your question,
okay,
Shumba.
okay.
Let me relay it to him. He's asking what.
Azvinzwa he had that auchepedzera kuzungaira you guys toda kutaura nesu.
Okay, Mayor. So the question was, what was Chabangu's position before he became the SG? Anyway, all right. What I'll do, Mayor, just before you respond, let me quickly go to the others, to the three people that were coming through. Bangone, one quick question to fire. So the three ladies were Jess, Sister Barbara, Jessica, and Chennai. So please, if you just fire your questions to the mayor.
Okay. Who's starting is okay? You can go ahead, Jessica.
I think mine is a very short question because my question again to the mayor is that
Uncle Gerard. Uncle.
Okay, Mayor, can you still hear the panel? You can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, who is the third? I'm not going to answer questions from Jessica and Senai. They are special. There's a conflict of interest. They are people whom I know very closely and have respect for them. So
okay.
Can you just ask the third person to ask me a question?
Okay, so Jessica Chennai, you can say your questions, but the mayor is not going to respond.
That's perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. I will just go ahead and I will ask my question. My question will still be the same. That mayor, and I hope maybe you
question from those are very close people to me.
It's okay. I will just answer I'll just ask my question.
Can I have the other person who can ask?
Uncle, I will just ask my question. And then the mayor does not have to answer, but at least people here will just know what the question is. My question is that...
Titus, can I go ahead and ask my
Okay,
question?
my question is that if all these people that have now left and they are saying that this was a one-man band, this was a one-man show, this was an orchestra of one person, my question is that why at the first sign of trouble did they not leave? Because only one answer came, only one thing. Uncle, can you please mute your mic so that I can ask my question? I'm almost done. The only thing, and I'll answer myself then if the question cannot be answered. My own answer is that people wanted to write on Nelson Chamisa's name, right? They knew that nothing was going to happen, right? They knew that this is a show that's going nowhere, but MP positions, council positions will be guaranteed. So they were all ready to drive into this vehicle that's going nowhere.
I can't hear anything.
It's okay.
Yeah, Jessica is speaking.
Yeah,
we can't hear. We can't hear.
It's okay.
But
you
Titus,
can't
can you
hear.
just ask him to leave me to finish?
Yeah, we can't hear.
I think can hear Jessica.
Can you all right.
speak because the
Jessica, all right, Jessica, let on
I'm
your
almost
question.
done.
I will relate. Go on.
Okay, it's fine. My question was that why did they not leave at the first sign of trouble when they saw that this vehicle of this one-man band, this one-man orchestra was going nowhere? And then since the mayor said that we share interest, right? Because, and I understand, but my answer then becomes, my very short answer then becomes, is because people knew that they are guaranteed of council and MP positions, right? So they wanted what was going to benefit them even in the first place. Saka they didn't mind that president was not going to win president. They didn't care that they're going to jump ship in the end. They didn't really care so much. All that mattered, Titus, was that they get in and now they are there and they have arrived. So I questioned my question and now I've answered my question. Thank you. You let me go down.
All right.
But I'm a cat, you guys. It's okay.
All right. All right. Thanks, Jess. Chennai?
Okay, so I'll actually turn mine more into a comment since the question cannot be answered. So, I've been listening to a lot of people who, like me, were part of the citizens movement and very supportive of the movement. And actually, we need to take stock of the fact that in itself, as far as the election was concerned, the vehicle achieved what it set out to achieve. We are sitting here, people talking about how great it was under Changirai, that they are not, they were once corporates before they were politicians, which is debatable, but there we are. The truth of the matter is what that setup was, the real truth why we all got on board. We are all people who are qualified in our different entities. We got on board with it because we could see that this is going to be successful. This is going to work. And it did. But what then happened is what always happens in Zimbabwe. We've had Kupe, we had Monzora, and now we have Chavangu. And what Chamisa has done by saying, I will not associate myself with this, it has made then those that are there for the purpose of career over principle now try to justify a continuation under Chavangu, under a Zanu PF geared Chavangu. The same with Monzora. When Monzora happened, some people went with him. Ava vana Meya, vana Jacob Vakasara, Vakamira na Chamisa, and started Triple C. Other people moved on with Monzora. And it's the same thing. Those people, if you were to talk to them at that time, they would say, Chamisa Kazodi. And what happens is, and we have to be honest, politics is a career. You don't have to come on this platform and say, oh no, I'm not a career politician. I'm insulted because I'm a career politician. You go to Cambridge and Oxford, the politics degree is one of the most popular for the very reason that politics is a career. There are some people who choose it. It's fine. The same way that the mayor chose politics for himself as a career. And what happens, which he tried to hint at earlier on, when he was saying that you are invested and you get to a point where you've come as a volunteer and what have you, and you want to get to a point where you are getting something maybe in the form of a career. And for him coming in, not being mayor and then being mayor, perhaps that was the trigger, that then makes you settle for something else. So I say these things. I was going to pose them as questions. I have stated them as facts because I can back it up. I'm sure the mayor can confirm that there isn't anything I say that is not in the public domain. So we need to, we shouldn't now start being told by these people that the vehicle did not work. We worked at it as citizens. We achieved great things in terms of parliament, in terms of urban councils, in terms of rural councils. And now we have this red herring that is Chawangu, that people are adopting for convenience so that they further themselves on the political career train, the same way that others did it before with Monzora.
All right. Brilliant. Thanks, Chennai. Can you put your comment on this, please, as well? Your submission, if you can just put it as a comment. I think it's important that because this space is recorded, we can always go back. People can listen, but I think it's good if you put a comment. Sister Barbara, please go ahead.
Barbara, because I think you need to retire now.
Okay, Barbara, you had a question, right?
Contribution, yeah. So
in terms of my questions, can we ask him?
Okay,
want him, yeah.
All right, just question for now.
That's how
I do have a question.
Yes, please, can you respect us, please?
One question.
Yeah. So my question to Mafume is he spoke of the Congress. They are going for a Congress under which party? Because I'm a little bit confused now. They're saying the Congress is going to be held this year after 5 years. So 2019 it was MDC Congress. Now they are going to Congress as which party? And also the other thing is, if you are not a leader, if maybe Chamisa has not appointed you a leader, can you not submit to Chamisa just because you have no position? Right? Because there are a lot of people that are fighting for this struggle without positions, and we've never heard them complain. And also, 2014, you left with BT, you left MDC, and went and started your own PDP, citing the same problems that you are citing now. And yet you are praising Changirai to be saying the language was we. But now you are saying Chamisa is saying I. But you left Changirai and went because of the renewal thing. You were saying Changirai had stayed for a long time as the president. That's the reason why you broke away. Remember the renewal issue, okay? And the other question is aiwa madiki my questions angoti gaga kuti kana vasingadi kutenderera aiwa ka wamwe wangu achitaura handi
mirai guys, mirai. I've been at this from 3. Now it is 23 past midnight. I'm working in the morning. I don't think it would wash because I can simply end and get the program because I am tired. I'm on go imimi majgamzimba zenyu mararisa vana venyu maisa vanya venyu ni homework that I haven't eaten right now, but munenge vamwe kana zvatovapo pastage yatatova. That is the stage yatatova. Please.
Okay, let me just answer, and then I'll defer. If Obey is still here, he will then represent me from the Millennium. So like you said, I probably need to sleep. I've also meetings and stuff for tomorrow that are starting in a few hours.
My question is you, Honorable Mayor. I do have a question
Sorry,
for you.
Matters, 1 second.
Just
1 second.
Uncle
Jed, can you allow us to ask him all our questions in one go, and then he can respond before the mayor goes, please? Because
maybe if I could add to the question. It's a quick question. So earlier on,
but my questions it will be very difficult for a person to pick up all the questions in one go and try to respond. I don't think it will be fair. To do that.
Caston Mateo, are you gonna maybe assist the mayor to answer the questions as well? Honorable Caston.
I will piece some questions. I don't need.
Ango Jeta. No, it's a straightforward question. It's based on what was said on this space by Honorable Hwende. So most probably, most probably we have a straightforward answer from the mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the question is, earlier on, Honorable Hwende alluded to the fact that the main reason why, we still have MPs in parliament today, they want to protect their zones of interest or their spheres of interest. And he also said he's working very hard together with other MPs to refine laws or new laws that we are getting. So it then made reference and mentioned the 9th Parliament, 8th Parliament, and all that. So my question was, maybe if you could please do a quick assessment of the laws that were introduced right from the time Nangagwa, got into power through a coup. The laws that we can attribute, that we can point to and say, hey, we got this law, and many thanks to the opposition MPs, they managed to refine us. Because if I look at the criminal law, the codification and reform, or the political, what is it called, the amendment bill, the patriotic bill, I don't see anything, refined in that. And also, if I look at the amendment of 2021, the constitutional amendment number 2. So maybe if you could please help us with the laws that were refined, so that at least we've got comfort to say, hey, our MPs are working very hard. I'm not going to mention about, the reforms and things that we've been crying for some time because of time.
You obviously follow Parliament through is the financial bill. That is the budget. So every year, the MPs take a long time to discuss what you call the budget. So it's one of the key laws that is passed. And
can I just, sorry.
Come on, guys. Let him answer.
No answer. So there is a budget that is discussed. So that is the most primary law for any parliament the world over, because that sets the tone for the work, allocates resources to the people.
Honorable, are you saying the budget is bigger than the constitutional amendment number 2? Is that what you are saying?
Can I answer this one?
Are you saying the budget is bigger than the constitutional amendment number 2 of 2021?
Mayor, can I answer him?
Is that what you are saying?
Mayor Mafume.
The constitution, you were asking for laws. And when I'm now telling you the laws and the lawmaking process,
Mayor, can I answer this question for him?
Pindai, Honorable.
Thank you very much. It's 1:30 here.
I can't hear him, Tetas. Can you hear him?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
My network is bad. Okay, fine. All right. Just to tell you something, I'm actually in Inyanga at the moment. And what I'm doing now is...
Tetas, is he speaking?
Yeah, he's speaking. Smartest, drop, then I'll bring you back. Drop so he can hear you.
Hello?
Go on, Honorable Caston, go on.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I've been in and out because of the network. And so basically, I'm actually in Inyanga at the moment. And what I'm doing here is we are going line by line on the Zimbabwe Media Commission Amendment Act and the Media Practitioners Bill, which hasn't gone to the drafters for drafting. We're actually suggesting what should be in that bill that would become law. What we want to do basically is to make sure that journalists have a society like the Law Society has. So this is a bill that is not yet tabled before Parliament, but we're actually helping the drafters. So this is some of the work that you might not see. So I've been here since yesterday, and I'll be leaving for home on Friday, just working on these two bills, line by line, amendment by amendment. This is some of the work, and you know what? I don't want to talk about what the other my fellow colleagues have talked about in terms of party politics and stuff. I want to focus solely on Parliament. The questioner, the person who asked that question said, "What impact have you had?" When a bill comes to Parliament, it goes through a second reading. That is where all the MPs debate. And then it goes to the committee stage, where then the debate is goes to clause by clause. Let me rest assure you, even the Law and Criminal Codification Amendment Act that you have mentioned, we heavily watered it down. The patriotic bill, so it became known. I remember we were with Honorable Beatty at the time. We finished Parliament around 2 a.m. That's when that bill actually sailed through. But we heavily watered that bill down. So as many other bills that you never hear about, which are not of public interest, but those bills, we actually debate them. I can tell you the Business and Public Entities Amendment Act as well. We literally put every clause in that bill and taking out what we didn't want, which was proposed by the Attorney General. So it's very unfortunate that we only focus on bills that are very topical, and then ZANU PF obviously they try to basically sell those bills through. But very few people in ZANU PF actually debate these bills in terms of their amendments, and we do that religiously, and we have done so since I was in Parliament in 2018. But remember, it's not only about these acts and these bills that we
Thank you. Thank you,
seek to.
Honorable Caston. Just a quick supplementary question. Just a quick supplementary
Okay.
question to that. Thank you so much for that response. Really appreciate it. Supplementary. I know Honorable Mayor was alluding to the fact that the
guys, I need to turn in. I've been on this for a very
Sorry,
long
Uncle.
time. Mirai. No, you need to understand my position. I've got an early, in the morning. I've got an early, and I am tired, and I really need to go. I want to apologize. I really need.
We appreciate that, Uncle Jets. Check out what bar.
Aiwa, asina zvatovhunza zvakwana.
No.
No, guys.
No, you see, when you guys do this, you don't appreciate, the fact.
No, we do appreciate, Uncle. We do appreciate.
No.
Serious, we appreciate.
Uncle, we appreciate. Matters has asked his question. We move to the next.
Gerard, unaweza lani kwenda kuita sena
Shamari special novharwa zve.
Uncle Jet, Uncle Jet, can you just allocate 2 minutes, and then we close?
Okay.
Aiwa, tinotomurambidza. Tinotoita stand for you panapa. Tinomurambidza.
After 2 minutes,
all right, guys. To be fair, I think it's been. I think it's done. How many hours? Over 10 hours. So
yes, I know. We do appreciate
guys. For those guys on the mic, we'll give you a minute each, just to give your final your final questions.
Okay.
So we'll start,
let me go.
I was
about to finish.
So
let me just quickly finish.
Yeah. Go.
Then I'll drop. If you give me 30 seconds, then I drop.
Go.
Yes. Oh yeah. So in his attempt to respond to my question, the Honorable Mayor then brought in the budget. So I wanted to ask you, Honorable Caston Mateo, to say, man, we have seen you debating the budget. Then after debating the budget, we would see Mtuli Ngube coming seeking for condonation with excess of $10 million at some point in time, something which is 2 times the national budget. So how does that help us? Like when we see you guys laboring on a budget only for ZANU PF to go out there, overspend, come and ask for condonation even after spend.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you maybe if you could just comment on that. Thank you.
Custom, Honorable Custom, please get that question. We'll go to Max.
Okay, thank you very much, Gerard and co-host. Ndangoti zvangu namukoma Caston, maybe andorimufana futi. Guys, mungangozamani kujustify kugara muparliament, but I think we are only legitimizing the government yamunangako. I don't know why you are there. Hamuna zvimwe zvokuita here zvinokupai mari murarama. Anokusera muchingotambudzwa namunangako. Why are you there when the people are saying we don't want you to be there? Why are you there? Mune nhamo yakaita sei yekuti munokona kungozviitirawo zvimwe zvinhu motsvaka mari. Let's leave that parliament, regroup. Totanga zvinyowani. Strategies zvitsva. As of now, you guys don't want to lie. Next election, that one. Musadzoka pamaspace futi panapa.
All right. Mkoma Mike, Max, straight to the point. Can I go to Oti?
Finally, thank you. 1 minute in the time, please. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna say is thanks to Agent Gumbo. Thank you, and uncles. Thanks to Agent Gumbo, explaining one of my facts because I felt like you were being hoodwinked into believing stuff that I'm not a politician. So some of the stuff I really don't know. And my other thing was, as citizens, we vote for citizen as a new party led by that's what went out. It was a new party that was created in 2022. Say that's what the citizens were out there waiting for it. So for people now to come back and say, oh no, EMDC, M 2.0, no, we know that's not what the citizens know. Because if the citizens thought that was MDC, they could have just voted for Wanzura. Wanzura got what? 1 vote. I got voted again. But there was no reason for Zanu could have voted MDC. If it was MDC, people would have voted for MDC. Now that you're coming back and saying, oh no, it was MDC, you deceived the citizens. That's why you see that this pushback that you see. If you don't understand it, because I know Mayor was asking, why is this pushback? That's where the pushback came from. The party was supposed to be a new party. We were waiting for a new party. You coming back and saying, the old folks, we're not ready for that. Okay. Hold on. I'm standing up for 1 minute. Hold on. And then going on, okay, Magic Congress, and you're going to go to Congress. That's fine. You do your Congress. But guess what? As the citizens are taking over, we're not doing this politician thing. And then the Congress hearing you. But just to let you know, we are not for that. Last question for the mayor. I'm hoping that is still there.
But tamboti tiri kustopa kama additional questions naye Oti. Wauzotijairira manje.
Let him finish. Go on.
This is my first time.
Presentation, guys. You see, this is what I was talking about.
Exactly. I'm with you, Uncle.
No, and listen, guys, some of you guys, we are in different jurisdictions. Some of you guys are already waking up now.
To 1999 paine tsachingwa waigona kumira mulaini wakusvika umvanza chingwa chapera dada kutofunga kutoroverwa kudaro. But anyways, I've got one thing I want to say. I want to ask these MPs and the mayor, what is important? Is it your input to the struggle or the person who's going to vote on the last day of the election? Because if they know that who is important, they will then start realizing that what they are doing right now is wrong. And even another thing is, in a war, when you have got a commander, if a commander says, let's retreat, you have to listen to the commander's voice. If you don't listen yourself, you'll go into a defeat. Or the commander will be saying that no, let's move out, and you guys are staying there. And right now, another thing is, all of us here in diaspora, we talk to our people in Zimbabwe, in your constituencies. People, they don't like what you're doing to stay in the parliament. The moment you realize that, your political careers will go a long way. If you don't realize that the person who's going to vote on the last day for the election for you to be in the parliament again is the most important thing. I'm telling you, you guys, you've lost out. And I'm telling you, it's also that's why we stick with President Chamisa, because he listened to us, the people who voted him, who voted for CCC. He listened to us. That's why we always feel is our way, our foot forward. If the moment you don't realize that, forget it. You are done. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Hwende. Zezai?
Okay, thank you, Titus, and thank you, Gerard. Question yangu is just a quick one. It was meant for the mayor. I don't know if he's still around. Can I ask people? It's fine. I remember there was an interview that was done between Dara B and Tendai Biti, where Tendai Biti was asked about the rotational presidency, and he refused to have been part of a meeting in which this was decided, right? So which means the mayor lied in front of everybody on TV that he had this meeting. Now, if he could lie to the whole nation like that, what is it that can give us assurance that whatever he's saying here is the truth, or there's an element of truth in what he's saying here? Thank you.
Thanks, my brother, for that. Mercy?
Thanks, Titus and Uncle Gerald. Continue to do these spaces. In any, I want to say the mayor did not answer my question about the whipping system and the relevance of Chabang and the dangers of those who want to deny association whilst remaining in there, because the ability to recall still exists, the ability to talk, he has some authority over that. So to represent people, you are going to have to grab that mic. Your 3 minutes, what control does Chabangu have? So to continue to say I don't recognize him, at some level, he avoided that question. But I also want to say, I think the Zimbabwean people are being reflected by these guys. Their behavior is reflective of how we are. When it suits us, we want others to be on the chopping block. And then when the ones we like are on the chopping block, we are there to gatekeep. There was a lot of gatekeeping on behalf of other people here. So we don't hate you. We just want you to come back together, regroup, and maybe use these spaces to listen as other listeners, to hear what Zimbabweans are saying. That would be my advice. I think, but Zimbabweans also have to be realistic. Some of the things you say are reflective of Zimbabwean people, are not actually statistically represented. This idea, this is what we want. There are reports by Zesne on the opinions of Zimbabweans on the ground. And sometimes your Twitter reflections are not what is on the ground. So that's it. Get back together, stop the nonsense. And Uncle Jet, if they can't find a venue, give them a venue every day.
Can I just respond to 2 questions before I retire to bed?
Sorry, can we ask the last one before
I
you
think the last one.
I need to go to bed. I just need to respond to 2 questions which were not directed at me. Sorry, which were directed to, I think there's the condemnation one and the Chabang one. I want to respond to those, and I would leave the ones that were directly asked to
Okay,
Mafumo.
honorable. There's just one person left. So I will ask Salan to shoot a question, then you can respond. Please, Salan, go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the space, Uncle Jed and Titus. Now, going on to the question, from what we've realized here, I don't believe in a situation where people should just support one man or listen to one person. When we talk about democracy, it's a collective. People have to agree. People can disagree. It shouldn't be a crime. So I'm of that belief. But I also feel that, in the submissions that were coming through, there has to be work that's done by those who came to speak with us today. And thank you very much, those Triple C leaders. You came on a space despite what was being said, which was you did not like or which was uncomfortable, but you still held your own. You came back and so forth. Thank you for that. But you should now have something that you've understood, the grievances of the people. What are the steps forward when you meet? What are you going to be discussing? Is there going to be transparency and accountability? Because I think those issues were coming through when people are asking, why didn't you resign at that part? Why are you saying the things you're saying now? So there has to be communication. There has to be more transparency in your leadership going forward. Otherwise, you come to a point where people don't understand you. And I also don't think that you should resign, like people are saying, in the sense of, oh, they should resign. With all due respect, it's not all Zimbabweans who feel that way. And if there is a population or part of Zimbabweans that feel that the leaders are working in their communities, they have got a right to do so. If those who feel they are not, you've got a right to feel that way. But there are proper processes in which things should be done. And I don't think we should start shouting odds and getting people out of, their political spaces. So my question to you would be, what are you going to do going forward to answer the grievances that have been spoken here today on Uncle Jed's space? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bossland. Honorable Custom Mattel, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'll start with the one. The first question was about the budget, that Tuli can just spend what he wants and come for condonation. Unfortunately, condonation is provided for in the Public Finance Management Act. As long as there is money that is in the unallocated reserves, he is allowed, in terms of the law, to spend, should there be any need for the country to spend, and then he has to come to Parliament within a stipulated time to seek condonation, which I think he has done. And obviously, we have to see what the money was spent on, and then if we are satisfied that the money had to be spent for the good of the country, then we will support the condonation. So that was the first question. The second question was basically, I just thought it was just an insult. I think the second question, I didn't really listen to it, but it was just more of a comment rather than a question. Then there's the question about the whipping system in Shabangu. Let me be absolutely clear. I don't like Shabangu. I hate him. We despise and we don't like the recalls that he did. And let me be very clear. We will not be whipped by Shabangu. In fact, Shabangu is in the upper house, and we will not allow him anywhere near our caucuses, and we will not invite him. And I've been on record to say, I don't care if he then connives with the state to recall me. I don't care about that. But I'll stick to my principle that once you abhor democracy the way that Shabangu did and recalling democratically elected people, then to me, that's a no-no. So no, I will not subscribe to Shabangu, and we will not. And the whipping system that you're talking about, yes, the whipping system is there. The whipping system is designed to ensure that that your party's views are the ones that carry the day at the end of the day. But the current state of Parliament at the moment, in terms of Triple C, is that we differ in terms of how we view things. So there are, I think, about 3 factions in Triple C at the moment in Parliament, and we all have different views on how things should go. And I'm very clear, and no one, I think, no faction has been or disallowed to say what they want or to put in their views. I think everyone is free to basically say anything. And I've actually, I think I probably speak the most in Parliament, and no one has actually come to whip me or whatever it is. So the whipping system is strong when, for example, when the president was still there. The president, if the if the president gives a directive that this is the way that things are going, then nobody would dare to go offside. But as things are now, it's just whoever says what they say. But what we are more concerned about basically is to ensure and not to give Zanu PF the country on a platter. The moment, and I can say, people are saying, why don't you resign? Why don't you do this? Let me rest assure you, resigning from my seat in Marondra Central is basically handing the people of Marondra Central to Zanu PF. When a snake enters your house, you don't leave your house, you kill the snake. So this is where some of us, and I speak for myself, fundamentally differed with the president. I thought we had an opportunity to fight. I thought we'd hang in there and fight the system, not run away from it and disappear into the sunset and leave Zanu PF to do what they want and pass the laws and as they would, and without any checks and balances. But I am confident and I'm sure that the work that we are doing in committees, in fact, most of the work of Parliament is done in committees. The work we are doing in committees is absolutely magnificent. I can give you an example. For example, in the public accounts that is chaired by Honorable Hwende, we brought Zinara in and we asked them to terminate a contract that was giving some company 200 million every single year, and that has been done. So those are some of the progresses and the checks and balances that we do as Parliament. And then I want to go to Salani's question on democracy in terms of what you do. I literally spent my whole adult life in the UK. I literally grew up in the UK. So in terms of democracy, I'm very much someone who really values that we must be democratic. And with all what you have said, we have already started a discussion on how do we get more citizen involvement into the Triple C. And I know people are saying you need to wait for President Chamisa. But let me be clear, President Chamisa resigned. So what we could only do from that standpoint is to move on, until such a time that something comes out. But for now, we have to face a Zanu PF head on, and we have to be there for those people. Otherwise, leaving Zanu PF alone to do everything alone would be absolutely disastrous for this country. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Kasamajo. So it's true to confirm as well to say, at the moment, President Nelson Chamisa resigned. You under the leadership of Welshman Gobe. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was the elected leader.
That is absolutely correct. And the basis of having him there is that when we elected President Nelson Chamisa in 2019, the first vice president then was Welshman Gobe, who got more votes in terms of the vice presidential votes. So we asked him to stand in until a time that we all go to Congress and choose our leaders. And he accepted that. We actually invited him to say, listen, you were the next elected leader after President Chamisa. Can we drive Triple C until we get to a point where we have a substantive leader? And I'm sure he said, that's fine. And when you guys choose a leader, I'll disappear into the sunset. So that is exactly where we are. And that's why we have him now as an acting president until that time when we go to Congress and choose a new leader.
Awesome. Thanks, Honorable Kasamajo, for that. Uncle, is Mayor still there? Are you still there online?
No, he's gone.
Okay, he's gone. All right, awesome. So I think we will, Uncle, I will let you close the space. I'll just read a quick message, but it basically says, okay, basically says, please keep the recording of the space because there's been a lot of revelations on this space. So please, Uncle, this space should remain on the archives. It is
subscription. Yeah, I got subscription. We don't know.
Subscribe
and
to
I will
get.
pay it. I just visa. Dora.
No, I think I can relate to the Munatumra message in terms of, because I think it was the first time we could hear the leaders speaking, and some of them, they're being honest in how they actually do not agree with the President Nelson Chamisa in terms of 1, 2, 3. So yeah,
it was revealing anyway. My face is
absolutely. Yeah, awesome. And also much appreciation. We see there some other honorable leaders in the platform. Anna Joanna Mamombe, you were here. Thank you for being on the space. You didn't take the mic. Anna Councillor Wambai share. Thank you guys. And a lot of other guys, even from Zanu PF as well. So guys, we appreciate you for being on the space. Uncle, I know you're tired. You can go on and do your closing?
Yeah. Guys, I am tired, but I want to thank you for the time that we have had. I know it was a long day. I never thought that we were going to get to this point. When I opened this space, I just thought that we were just going to be having our conversation as usual. Maybe around 7 or 8 we bring it to a close. I never anticipated that we're going to get these members of parliament and all the folks that came through to speak. Saga, it was quite challenging and difficult because it was not something that was planned. I know there were so many people that wanted to speak, but it is a format that I'm not quite used to, because if I'm having a guest, usually I let the guest speak, and then we start adding people one by one. But Papinda, my honorables, tanga tatovhura space kudhara, and there were a lot of speakers and stuff like that. So when you try to navigate through that, sometimes it can be very, very, very challenging. And but I want to apologize. I know there are so many people that wanted to speak, and they could not speak. I think next time I will make sure at least we have different voices on the platform. I will make sure we bring in a diverse in terms of people that come in and speak. Because at one point we had about 7 to 8 people that needed to speak. So I think it is quite important, because the willingness that people have shown, I think it is something that should be respected, and it is something that should be inonzi kuti izvoningi vanofana kupiwa that opportunity yokuti izvoningi vataure. Saka I will see next time if we have something like this, I will see how best we can manage. Kana tichinge tatodaro, I think the next thing is to just clear the deck. We leave the people that vari kubvunzwa mubvunzo, so that people will just be coming in and dropping, coming in and dropping, coming in and dropping. That way we can move quickly through different speakers, and also give the people that will be responding the opportunity to speak. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to appreciate you. Our time is now almost 1 a.m. I have to be up by 6:30. So thank you very much, and kwanhasi togumira pano ndoti good morning. I don't go good morning or good evening areas akaita sana states. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate. Tubata now.